here on the GDQ Hotfix, the show that brings you runs with bullets. First-person shooters, third-person shooters, shmups, bullet hells, lasers, rockets, grenades, raindrops, and shotgun shells. It is pouring rain outside right now, so I thought I'd change things up. If it's got bullets in it, it's got a home here at Crosshair. My name is Dangerous, I'm your host. If you think you've got a run that qualifies for this or any of our other Hotfix shows, head on over to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix and fill out the run submission form, and who knows, you may end up on a future episode of the GDQ Hotfix. Longtime viewers of this show will remember back in episode 2, I say long time, like the show's been on the air for like so long. Viewers of Crosshair that have been here since the beginning will remember episode 2 of this show was titled, Okay Boomer, Shooters, Volume 1. Well, today, folks, we're bringing you Okay Boomer, Shooters, Volume 2. We've got 3 very lovely boomer shooter runs set up for you tonight. We're going to be closing out the day with Rise of the Triad by Rip Chip. Before that, we've got famed Bioshock runner Gulch here to show us NecroVision. But we're going to be leading things off with a little kind of an odd boomer shooter title. It's got a little gimmick to it, but it's a cool one. Descent by Zello. So, Zello, my good friend, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dan. Hi, everyone. I'm Zello, however you want to say it. Never matters. We're going to be playing some good old Descent right here. Descent being the first 6 Degrees of Freedom first-person shooter back in 1995, made by Parallax Software. Before we get into specifics about that, I want to introduce Spoody. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, hey, I'm Spoody. I run this game, and I'll be doing commentary for it. In fact, my first run in the GDQ event ever was this game right here, so I'm looking forward to commentating it.
He's the one who got me into this game, so you can blame him for all the mistakes I'm going to make. But anyways, we'll get into this. So if you've never seen a 6 Degrees of Freedom first-person shooter, we're going to have full control in both the movement and rotation in the X, Y, and Z axis. That means this game is very, very movement-intensive and motion-sensitive, so if you have issues with that, just be warned. You might get some motion sickness. We'll go ahead and load stuff up right here. So I'm actually going to load a save file real quick, and then we're going to immediately close that out and start a new game. This is actually going to set up the only useful glitch in the run that Spoody can talk about later. But the category we're going to be doing is training 80%. Training is just the easiest difficulty, but this is by no means an easy run. So we're going to hope it goes well. So time's going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
All right, so welcome to Descent, everyone, and you may notice right away that we're just kind of like tilting in all sorts of weird angles. This isn't Zelo trying to make you all sick on purpose. There is a purpose to this. So this is very early on in the days of first-person shooters in general. In fact, a lot of the marketing surrounding this game was about like, hey, please play our game. It's like Doom, but better. And it has a lot of the same design senses and a lot of the same design flaws. And one of those, if you're familiar with classic Doom speedruns, Doom has strafe running, where you can kind of point yourself diagonally and you run forward and left or right at the same time, and you'll move about 60% faster. But that's just math. As it turns out, Descent has the same issue, and with full free movement on an actual proper third axis of space, the effect is all the more dramatic. So you want to be kind of tilting yourself such that you can move like forward, sideways, and up or down all at the same time, and you'll move about like 70% faster or something like that. It's really fast. We did see a death warp back there. So Descent does have an extra live system. You can see the life count in the bottom right there. You get an extra one every 50,000 points, or when you get an extra life pickup, which are available in some secret areas. When you die, you lose all of your equipment and respawn at the start of the level. Early on in the game, losing all the equipment's not a big deal because we don't really have any equipment to speak of. It's not going to be until later in the game that we start getting access to better weapons. Right now, we're just using this basic little pea shooter laser and some basic concussion missiles, which you get, I believe it's 7 of on every respawn and every new level on trainee difficulty. And yeah, they're not too strong. But none of the enemies in this area are particularly strong either. You can see they go down in a few shots. Ooh, nice getting squeezed past that Hulk in that hallway. That's always a little tricky to line up. One of the things about movement and Descent is it is so easy to just instantly lose all of your momentum the moment you just hit any part of a robot along the way. And that's part of what makes the movement tech in this game so difficult to execute consistently, is that you have to have this balance of setting yourself up in these tricording angles where you're sliding in on all three axes, while also maneuvering around and dealing with enemies that are in the way, because so you're constantly going to be flicking in and out of this optimal angle to be clearing out hallways of enemies so that you can keep yourself moving. So every level works basically the same. There's going to be blue, yellow, red key, again drawing that Doom influence, generally in that order. The red key is going to house the red door is going to house the reactor, which is a big beefy boss enemy with a lot of turrets. Its health is going to increase every subsequent level, and you'll start to see that as we progress through the game. Once you blow the reactor, it'll start an escape countdown timer. You have to find the exit door and leave the level before that countdown expires. If you fail to do so, you will die and immediately start the next level with no equipment beyond the starting basic lasers, which is quite consequential later on. So, got to be careful about that. So we picked up the spread fire cannon here, this little blueberry launcher. It's a pretty substantial damage increase. It's going to be a lot better than the basic lasers, which is just in time too, because these Diamond Claws, these lifter bots, have quite a bit of health, and having the spread fire cannon will really help with that. And of course, again, robots are really good about getting in your way and keeping you from being able to move forward. So melee bots in particular are extra bad about that, because their whole design, their whole point is to try and get in your way. So, good to have the extra damage increase here. And this is thankfully I think this is the single level with the most of these lifter bots. Once we're past here, there won't be nearly as many. There'll still be plenty, but the level they get introduced there is definitely the worst on that front. So we're kind of finishing up with the Venus levels here. So the storyline for this game is essentially the PTMC, the Post-Terran Mining Corporation, has mines on every planet in the solar system, and all of the mining and security robots in each of their mines has been infected by a mysterious alien virus that's made them go rogue, and you're just playing the material defender, a mercenary hired to purge the mines of the virus by causing a catastrophic meltdown by destroying the reactor. So we're starting by, moving inwards towards, into the inner planets, Venus and Mercury, and then after that we'll be heading to the outer planets and their moons. Picking up the Vulcan cannon here. The Vulcan cannon's interesting in that it doesn't use energy for its primary fire. You'll notice that gold gauge in the UI at the bottom there. That is the weapons energy. You need it to fire your primary weapons, for the most part, but Vulcan ammo uses a secondary ammunition source called Vulcan ammo, and it's got the fastest moving projectiles in the game. They're kind of pseudo hit scan. There's a slight delay. There's a travel time to them, but it's very fast, and the projectiles are invisible, which makes them pretty dangerous. Speaking of Vulcan cannons, we start the Mercury levels here, and this is where the worst enemy in the game, and in the entirety of the Descent series for that matter, comes into play. You'll know them by their distinct shriek whenever you see them, the light drillers. Light drillers have Vulcan cannons. They pretty much will dish out damage that is impossible to dodge if they get a line of sight on you. So a good amount of the routing is using homing missiles to take them out in advance, because there's one right there. Because at the very least, their one saving grace is they're pretty squishy. One single homing missile will take them out. But a lot of the routing is just around trying to deal with these light drillers and not getting ripped apart by them. Thankfully on trainee difficulty, at least, enemies are a little bit slower to respond and don't deal quite as much damage. So, as long as you're moving quickly, you can kind of get past them a lot of the times. But we're coming up on a pretty notorious trap room that gets a lot of people in casual playthroughs right here. It's a little bit late to give the volume warning there, as all the trapdoors open and 3 drillers all start shrieking. But going out of the way there for an extra life and a cloaking device. Cloaking device is kind of partial invincibility, or invisibility, excuse me. As long as you aren't shooting or crashing into walls, enemies will not react to you. And, you know, when you do something that alerts them, they'll just have like a brief idea of where you are and kind of shoot in that general vicinity. So it's great for avoiding fire from the light thrillers. And we're coming up on level 7, the second and last of the Mercury levels, Mercury Core. And this is our first of 2 boss levels. So to go into further into detail about why Zelo at the start of this just loaded up a save file and immediately quit out, there is a bug associated with bosses. So bosses will teleport around the arenas they're in.
That was close.
That was so scary. He actually hit 0 shield before picking up that key for that death warp. That would have been very bad if he died without picking up that key.
Oh my God. My heart just about stopped right there. Anyway, continue with the voice explanation.
So, yeah, that Red Hulk blocking the way. Red Hulks are the other most dangerous enemy in the game. They shoot homing missiles, obviously pretty hard to dodge, you know, just judging by the name. They're also extremely tanky enemies. They take a ton of damage to take down. So, yeah, those Red Hulks are always scary and are pretty much the other enemy that you have to really plan for. But anyway, thanks to that save file we loaded, there's a bug associated with bosses in that they will check the in-game timer to know whether they should teleport or not. And that timer that they have stored, the value of the timer they have stored, is not cleared out properly from old save files you've used. So it thinks that like it lasts, it needs to wait like 20 minutes or however long Zelo had that save file cooking before he saved it.
It's
before
even longer because I used it on the final boss as well.
Yeah, so like, yeah, if you have a save file that's been sitting around for like, longer than the length of a typical speedrun, and you load it up and quit out, it'll just bug out and it'll never teleport. And that eliminates an otherwise really pesky source of RNG in this game.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre oversight, but hey, it's there, and we'll take advantage of it because it cuts out really annoying RNG.
Yeah, I do want to say I'm playing this the Rebirth source port specifically on version 0.581 because this is the last version that has that bug before that was patched out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there is a source port, for modern systems that is being still, somewhat actively maintained by the community. And, they are going back and fixing some bugs like that. But, of course, we always have the option of using older builds if it turns out they're fixing a bug that we actually want around.
I do highly recommend using
that.
Rebirth if you want to play this game, because playing it in DOS is not nearly as fun as it is playing it in Rebirth.
Yeah, no, if you buy this game on Steam, I believe it just launches a DOSBox instance and runs the game through that.
Oh, nice.
And it is, it's definitely not the best way to experience the game. Like, you just get so much of a smoother experience using a source port. I would absolutely recommend, if you're thinking of checking this out, grab a source port for it. It'll be worth it. You'll thank us in the long run.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I remember because I know this is like an old game from like way back when, but we had the release year is 2022, and I was like, there's got to be a story behind that somehow.
Yeah, I believe that's the release year of the source port, of the particular version of the source port that Zelo is using. Originally, I think the game launched it either 95 or 96. I want to say 95. So yeah, don't worry, we're not masquerading as a boomer shooter here.
Well, I mean, it is, but
yeah, no, it actually is one. So the 22 year is. There's a little bit of truth to it, but fundamentally, yeah, this game came out in 95. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, we are coming up on the first deck exit in the route on this level. I believe you're following that route, right?
Yeah, I'm using that route, so we're going to do the first death exit.
Okay, so yeah, I did mention before that you can, if you die, you lose all your equipment, during the self-destruct sequence. And oh no, that seems bad, especially now that we have these quad lasers, which, obviously double our damage from when we just had the basic little piddly twin lasers. But it's going to be fine because right after this level, we're going to pick up the most powerful primary weapon in the game. There's one in a little secret box right at the start of the next level, the fusion cannon. Fusion cannon is really, really strong, but also really, really hard to use. So we're going to take out this reactor, kind of intentionally take damage as we go in for the kill. And yeah, while you do lose all your equipment, it is faster than going to the exit. So that does get utilized here. And here's the fusion cannon. So the fusion cannon, unlike all the other primary weapons, isn't an automatic weapon. It's a charge and shoot weapon. And it shoots these big purple projectiles. The thing is, the fusion cannon causes your ship to shake while it's charging. And if you overcharge it, you'll start to overheat and deal damage to your own shields. And the maximum damage the fusion cannon can deal is above that overcharge threshold. So you will see Zelo intentionally overcharging and sacrificing health sometimes to deal a little extra damage, especially against tanky enemies like the Red Hulks. Yeah, you do need to charge a little bit to get those plasma, those heavy drillers one shot by the fusion cannon. They're a little bit bulkier, a new enemy type in this level. Thankfully, again, light drillers, fairly flimsy. A quick tap shot from the fusion cannon will take care of them all at once. These Red Hulks, though, they take quite a bit of charging. In fact, if you want to one-shot them with fusion, you have to overcharge and start dealing damage to yourself. But usually, I think you'll see him coupling the fusion cannon shot with some missiles to take out the Red Hulks. And we're picking up that Sega Saturn logo back in the wall there. First saw one back in the 5th level. The Sega Saturn, the sheer power of the greatest console of all time, makes you invulnerable for about, I think, 30 seconds. And going to be putting that to good use here on this approach to this reactor, because there's a couple of Red Hulks guarding this reactor room. And we'd like to just ignore them if we can. Unfortunately, getting in the way there.
I'm going to do this the safe way. So we're going to grab this cloak that's on the other side right here.
Yeah, again, just as I mentioned before, the fusion cannon shakes your ship while it's charging, which makes accurate flight very difficult, sometimes impossible if you get unlucky enough. Because the ship shake isn't controllable or manipulatable in really any particular way. It's pretty much random. And sometimes, you go for that crucial shot and the ship jerks up right before you release and you just miss. Or sometimes it wiggles you into an enemy that you're trying to fly past. You can kind of, do what you can to just shift your mouse subtly to try and compensate for the shake, but sometimes it's just going to cause problems.
And now we have the hardest planet in the whole game.
Yeah, we are now on the Jupiter moons, which this first level filled with lava. Lava will splash up whenever any weapons hit it, which will deal damage to any enemies or to any players that happen to be near it. So you can't count on just dodging projectiles when you're near lava, because even if you dodge it, if they hit the floor near you, you're still going to take lava splash damage.
The floor really is lava.
Someone had to say it.
And got a cloaking device drop. There are some cloaked melee type enemies that have a random chance to drop cloaking devices. Zelo got one a little earlier, which may seem nice, but also means that he couldn't pick up the one that was just on the floor near the yellow key there, because you cannot pick up another power-up while you currently have the same type of power-up active. That does mean he's not cloaked for this key run, which can be a little sketchy. Thankfully, there's a couple of extra.
Oh, there's a cloak right there because one of the lifters came right down to meet me.
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty rare. There's a couple of cloaked lifters there that spawn up near the exit door of in the shaft you just went past.
Nice.
One of them came down. One of them roamed down really aggressively and gave him an early cloak drop, which makes this reactor kill a little bit safer.
Yeah, that is the worst reactor room in the entire game for me, so I'm very happy to do that very safely.
Yeah, there's a lot of bots flying around that have kind of a camo texture against the lava and drop proximity mines everywhere. And proximity mines hurt quite a bit if you run into them. So yeah, pretty dangerous. I believe we have some death warps, some storage deaths coming up here.
Yes.
So the red key on this level is pretty far out. So we're just gonna take a death right in front of the reactor room there to drop all of our gear. And then we're gonna make our key runs here. So yeah, just gonna grab the yellow key and the red key, and the one thing you do retain across lives are any keys you've collected on the current level. So yeah, once you get the red key, you can just death warp back to the start and go straight to the reactor. And you know, as long as you've got like a tight little hallway or something to drop all your gear in, you can just fly straight through it, pick up all your gear again, and be on your way. It saves quite a bit of time from you know, compared to backtracking from all the way out here. You have to be careful though, there's a lot of red hulks along the way to this red key, and it's a little scary, but Zelo making it, gonna take the death there, and you'll see we just fly right down here, and look, all our gear just nice and compressed in this one little cube. And we're able to just rush the reactor and leave the level right behind it.
And now we have the hardest level.
Yeah, level 13. This level is the longest and what I'd say is probably the most difficult level of the run. There's light drillers right at the start there, but more importantly, there's red hulks absolutely everywhere. And a lot of times in very narrow hallways where there is no room to dodge the homing missiles. It's pretty much impossible to do so. I think like technically it's barely doable, but like in
practice,
practice,
if you're playing a hard difficulty where they move extremely fast.
Yeah, in practice, it probably ain't happening. So we're going to see Zelo kind of take some time to clear out some of these red hulks, because we are going to have to be going through some of these rooms again on the key runs here. Unfortunately, yeah, all of the keys very far from the start, so can't utilize any sort of death warp strategies like we saw in the last level. It's just a pretty long and arduous gauntlet for this level. Throwing a mega missile into this room because there's 2 light drillers and a red hulk. A direct hit from a mega missile will one-shot a red hulk, and the splash damage from it will take out the drillers. So, you know, it's very good for that room. You can just directly approach that room if you want, but it's going to be really, really dangerous. So the mega missile, just a much safer approach there. Do have to be careful with mega missiles, though. Their huge blast radius, it does a ton of damage, so whenever you use them, you got to make sure you are far away from them. Otherwise, you're likely just going to be blowing yourself up. So this level also does have the longest escape sequence in the game. The exit is right there where we just picked up the red key, up a long exit shaft. And yeah, as you can see, like the reactor room is quite a ways away. We're having to fly through multiple rooms to get there. Shield is looking very sketchy. So I'm gonna just be quiet for a bit and let Zelo focus here, because he needs to make sure he gets this reactor kill.
There it is.
Okay, nice. That was scary. So yeah, we are going to take a death exit here just to cut out that very long backtrack to the exit, which does make this level a lot harder. Back when I was running this game, we did not do that death exit, and we would still have, you know, some weapons here. We'd do some storage deaths and stuff to do a death warp from the red key, but the reactor room is going to be a lot harder without that fusion cannon. We will be getting a new fusion cannon again shortly, though. I believe not in this level, though.
Yeah, in 15, there's one halfway through.
Yeah, I think I remember exactly where it is.
Yeah, it's right on the way to the red key. But,
so taking out a surveyor bot there, that little blue ball enemy. They don't have weapons. They are just there to allegedly alert nearby bots to your presence. I'm not sure in practice if they actually do anything on that front.
Oh, they do. They definitely do. Like, I've seen like some enemies get very aggressive when alerted.
Okay, fair enough. But their main purpose is they all seem to have like specific scripted item drops. And that particular one always drops an invulnerability, which makes this key run a lot easier. So yeah, going out for this yellow key, we'll be seeing some more use of the spread fire cannon again for these key runs. But yeah, you'll note again that this red key is very far out of the way from the start. We did see the red door right at the start of the level. Quite a long backtrack to get back to there. So we will be taking another deck here, just warping after the red key here. Still 2 lives to spare. You know, we've got everything routed out to make sure that there are more than enough lives to make this work. And we're going to be killing a cloaked lifter here, hopefully getting a cloak drop.
Yep, there's one.
Nice. Because yeah, this room's got. Some get lit up a bit there briefly because he crashed into the wall there. But this room's got 4 red hulks and 2 light drillers. 4 of the most dangerous enemy in the game, and 2 of the second most dangerous enemy in the game.
I'm glad to be out of Jupiter. I'm so glad to be out of Jupiter.
Yeah, and we're done with the Jupiter Moon levels, and those are like Zelo said, they're pretty definitely the hardest levels in the game. There are some other outliers that can be pretty tricky, but the Jupiter stretch is just the most brutal part of this game. It's just 4 consecutive levels that are all pretty relentless and pretty tight on resources. So picking up a spread fire cannon here, gonna throw some more blueberries around for a little bit, but I believe the fusion cannon should be coming up after the blue key on the way to, or after the yellow key rather, on the way to the red key. It's just right in the middle of the arena. That's towards the red key, so we'll be getting back to full strength soon enough. Thankfully, if you just use something like the spread fire cannon and use it in conjunction with your missiles, with your secondary weapons, you can still take care of problematic red hulks pretty quickly.
Let's talk a little bit about the movement, because turning speed is not instant like it is in most other FPS where I could just swing the mouse. Though you actually have quite a bit of physics hauling to do, and you're very, very locked to a slow turn speed.
Yeah, and there's that fusion cannon I was talking about, but that is something that I think it actually causes a lot, contributes to the motion sickness issues for some people. Is just adjusting to that. This game is not free mouse look. Your rotation has physics attached to it and max speed attached to it. Interestingly enough, rotating vertically for some reason, and only vertically, specifically vertically.
So close.
One shield there. Okay. Vertical rotation is half the speed of horizontal or rolling rotation.
Oh, I didn't get the shot.
Yeah, I saw that angle go up. I was wondering if one of them clipped the wall above the reactor. But yeah, so oftentimes if you see Zelo in a position where he has to rotate to look either up or down, instead of just holding up or down rotation, he's going to combine rolling with horizontal rotation. It's kind of subtle, but if you know to look for it, you'll notice it.
Let's say chat is very entertained, and myself as well, by Zelo's body motion movements and facial expressions and a wide-eyed stare at the screen while you're doing all of this.
I was talking about this in the green room while we were waiting to go live. It is impossible to play this game without bobbing around in your seat at least a little bit.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that when I play Time Crisis, I'm the kind of guy that jumps whenever a shot is fired at me. So.
Same.
Yeah, no, like I said, I've run these games quite a bit, and hours and hours, probably hundreds of hours put into this game, and I don't think I've ever gotten to the point where I'm not tilting my head to look at my monitor slightly sideways to see if maybe I can get a better angle, or to look around that corner, or ducking under a homing missile that I'm trying to dive underneath. It's you can't do it. You can't just sit still playing this game. It is going to do that to you. And again, I think the fact that the movement speed rotation is limited really actually kind of helps sell that immersion. It not being able to just twitch your mouse and spin around 360 degrees. It really does kind of do a good job, I think, of really kind of making you feel like you are piloting a somewhat clunky ship.
It certainly looks like it.
That can only maneuver so well.
Look, would you really call the Pyro GX a clunky ship? It's too badass of a name.
That is true. I don't mean to speak ill of it, but I'm speaking from the perspective of other first-person shooters. Again, bringing back the Doom comparisons. You look at classic Doom. That man has jets strapped to his legs.
Right.
He runs the speed of a cheetah on a rocket propelled cheetah. And if you throw in strafe running and wall running into the mix, it gets even more ridiculous from there. Compared to that, this ship looks absolutely sluggish.
I got a lucky cloak drop, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah, this level kind of formally introduces the mine layers. We'll see a lot of those gopher bots flying around the tunnels, dropping those proximity mines. But this level is pretty generous on the power-ups. There was an invulnerability that you can't miss on the way to the blue key, which we're grateful for, because there's a lot of red hulks by the blue key. So being invulnerable for them really helps.
There's also an
just back up
optional
into it.
invul. Yeah, there's also an optional invul that I don't need to take because my shield is really good. This is like double of what I normally have, so we can skip that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's some nice
Yeah, it's
flexibility
looking-
on the route, just being able to pick whatever power-ups you want to get.
Yeah, and on training difficulty, yeah, if you get a lucky shield drop, it's worth a lot more. The difficulty scales the value of those drops. I think for trainee, it's what,
18.
like 18?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll also sometimes see people running hot shot. There it's 12. If you go all the way up to the maximum difficulty insane, it's only 6 points per pickup. And the enemies also deal more damage and shoot much more rapidly. So it's like, oh good, I got a shield pickup. That is half a laser shot worth of health. It's pretty brutal if you play on that difficulty. We're going to see another intentional death here just to store gear in this narrow hallway while we go run and get a couple of keys. Yeah, this level's got kind of a scattered layout with a lot of winding hallways. All of the keys are pretty spread out, so it's going to be advantageous to take a few intentional deaths here. Take another death here. Yeah, it's actually something worth commenting about the difficulty level is that if this game looks really hard, like you're seeing how often Zelo's gotten down to 1 health, that's because the first descent was way too hard. They actually had to really retune the difficulty settings when they made the second game because there were too many people who like couldn't make it past the first couple of levels on the lowest difficulty when this game originally came out. So if you played Descent 2 or like any of the other follow-up games, you'll notice a stark difference. In fact, in Descent 2, some of the death warps actually get a lot harder to do just because it is so hard to die on trainee difficulty in Descent 2.
That's funny.
All right, nice shot on that reactor and moving out here. Yeah, interestingly enough, the reactor rooms kind of get quite a bit easier at this point in the game compared to some of what we saw in the mid game. Like, we saw that level 14 reactor room with the 4 red hulks and the 2 light drillers. That was really only manageable because Zelo got a lucky cloak drop with the basic equipment. Whereas that reactor room, it's like there's 1 red hulk and a swarm of these bots that shoot just basic level 1 lasers. The difficulty curve is a little bit weird at times. That said, this level can be a little tricky. There's a lot of red hulks in this second floor here, so gotta be careful around it. In fact, when I was doing this playthrough of this game, like deathless, insane difficulty only, this level was the hardest level for that run.
I'm actually surprised to hear that.
Yeah, no, because the red hulks in that second ring are just, there's a bunch of them and they start roaming by the time you get there. Yeah. And it's just so hard to deal with roaming red hulks on insane difficulty.
Yeah, because they shoot so many homing missiles and they do like 40 damage a piece.
Yeah, they'll shoot them in bursts of like 3 missiles at once, and if you eat the whole barrage, you're just dead from full starting health. It's so rough. But yeah, speedrun, it's pretty straightforward. We really only have to engage with 1 of those red hulks, and then we're just going to overcharge the fusion here. Ooh, I think those shots clip.
Okay,
yeah,
that's fine. It wasn't that bad. That's fine.
Yeah. So something about the fusion cannon is the projectiles hitboxes are absolutely huge. It's really easy for them to clip just parts of the map geometry and come to a dead stop.
The blue bot's already not cooperating. There he is.
So yeah, this is a unique level in that the keys are held by enemies. They are color-coded, so they're just that solid blue enemy drops the blue key. We'll see a solid yellow and a solid red enemy coming up. The level is very small, but if the key bots get away, they can be really hard to track down because this level's just full of really tight, like grid-like hallways. So it's really easy for them to just duck behind cover.
There you go.
Oh, and the red key bot's gone somewhere.
Dude, I hate when this happens. I'm gonna save it.
Where it's gone, who knows? It's time to
let's play hide and seek here. Oh, there's also a
platformer. Oh yeah, those platform bots. We saw the.
There it is. It somehow died.
Okay.
I don't know what killed it.
I think it ran into one of its own mines or something.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah, so we saw those like the white and tan platform bots earlier that shot level 3 lasers, the blue lasers. Okay, ooh, that was close. The reactor almost didn't die in time there for that death exit. But yeah, that level really introduces, shows en masse the alternative version of them, the green missile platform bots, which have a really menacing shriek, like gurgling shriek to them too. That's really scary to hear. And they shoot a lot of missiles rapid fire. They're pretty dangerous. Definitely not light driller or Red Hulk level dangerous, but you do have to be very careful with them. So yeah, death exit from that reactor room. Gonna set us back on gear. We're back to the spread fire cannon here. Thankfully, enough room to fly around most of the enemies as we grab the keys here. That cloaking device that we just picked up gonna help get around these Red Hulks. And we just grab a fusion cannon right here. Very convenient next to the red key, or yellow key here, excuse me. I know my colors.
Gonna get 1 extra life as well. The routing is still very important, though. Thankfully, we don't need too many more points to get the lives we need.
Yeah, we'll see some some trips out to pick up extra lives. We've already seen a few of them. And that's not just for safety. You know, you do need some of those to enable all the death warps and death exits we want to take advantage of.
Oh, there's not even safety anymore. Like, every single life gets used by the end of the run.
Yeah, if you take on unintended deaths, you'll have to start cutting out some death warps. But yeah, a bit of an interesting reactor room there. There's kind of a puzzle where you have to go into these compartments that trigger more compartments to open, and you go in that, more ones open until finally the reactor opens up. And you want to make sure
you I accidentally...
Oh, no!
That's fine. We'll reload the save.
Okay.
So I grabbed the invuln by accident, and I want that for later.
Yeah, there's an invulnerability in the side of this room. You actually want to just take a death in this shaft here. And unfortunately getting nudged up into the invulnerability there. But yeah, just want to leave your gear there for later, because the red key is very far out in this level. It's up a very long winding shaft, which takes quite a bit of time to traverse one way, let alone both ways. So we're gonna cut out that trip by dropping all of our gear in the shaft near the start, which the reactor room is pretty close to the start as well. And we'll just make do with the equipment we find along the way. We're grabbing the keys. Thankfully, that includes a fusion cannon, so this run is not. This key run is not too bad.
Yeah, the old strat right here used to use a mega missile. We're just gonna do a nice charge when I get to about right here, and we're just gonna pop these Red Hulks right in the face, point blank.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
It's such a cool new strat.
That cloaking device that we picked up just a little while ago helps with that climb, because there's light drillers in every one of those grates that Zila was passing by. And you know, they can occasionally get some shots off on you as you pass by, but with the cloaking device, they're not even going to care. And there's why we want that invulnerability. Again, sorry for the lack of volume warning as we have entered that room and like 10 drillers all shrieked at once.
Gotta love them.
And look, those purple webby enemy spawn points, they spawn more of them. That level, I believe, is also where we get introduced to cloaked light drillers, because they weren't bad enough. The cloaked light drillers are well cloaked, so they're a little harder to see. They also have a little bit more health for some reason, and they also give you less points when you kill them for some reason.
That's an insult to injury at that point.
Yeah, they only give 700 points to normal light drillers 1,000. Why they're that way, even though they're harder in every conceivable way, who knows? Well,
even the developers themselves were just like, yeah, we made Red Hulks like way too tanky. It's just things you find in retrospect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of, again, this game was pretty early on in the first-person shooter genre's lifespan, like as a whole. This was made back in the day when first-person shooter wasn't really a term yet. Everything was just Doom clone. That's what you hear everyone calling it. Yeah, Doom-like, Doom clone. Yeah, that's what it was, because Doom was the first-person shooter. It was grinding productivity in every office with computers to a halt, to the point where antivirus software came bundled with a Doom killer command in a lot of cases, where you could just it would send the end current game in Doom and to every machine on the current network, just to make everyone in the office stop playing Doom.
I actually had a question about given how old this game is, I'm curious, has anybody tried to TAS it? Because I'm watching all this movement, and human-based movement, with a game like this, you're gonna bump into walls, you're gonna have little micro time losses here and there because it's just kind of the nature of playing, like, you know, having a human hitting buttons. How fast would a task run of this be that just slides through every hallway at the perfect angle? And
oh, it would be stupid fast. I don't know exactly how, but something that I think at a task level you might be able to implement into the run. That's really funny. Let's go back to the fusion cannon and its shaking mechanic for a bit.
Oh no.
So the fusion cannon, as I mentioned, it just kind of shakes your ship randomly as you charge it. That effect ramps up the longer you hold the button, and there is no ceiling to that. It will keep shaking your ship more and more violently the longer you hold that fire button. If you use some cheat codes to give yourself infinite energy and invulnerability, it will get to the point where you are getting thrown across entire like 20 tile rooms instantaneously. A task could potentially utilize that, like, you know, RNG manipulation with that and an invulnerability power up to do some really silly things. But as far as I know, unfortunately, no one has attempted to make a task of this game yet. So, you know, who knows if there's any actual practicality to that, but I can dream.
Yeah, task runs are like really cool. We actually had one last night on Express Lane. It's a task run of 102 Dalmatians. And just chat, if you missed that, in about a week, that'll be up on our YouTube. And if you missed any of our Hotfix shows like Express Lane last night or Awfully Silly before that, or any of the events like Back to Black or the English rebroadcast of Speedruns, you can check all the VODs at youtube.com/gamesdonequick. All previous episodes of Crosshair are also up there if you missed any of them.
So we are approaching the end of the run here. This is level 25. We're starting the Pluto levels because this game was made in the days when Pluto was still considered a planet. You know, the old halcyon days. So yeah, there's only 3 levels to go. And something I didn't really touch on, 2 levels ago, we and the level after it as well, 23 and 24, we briefly saw the Fusion Hulk, the what is sometimes, I think it's referred to internally as the mini boss. I possibly may have lied when I said that like, you know, light drillers and red hulks are dangerous enemies number 1 and 2. Wait, I don't know if the Fusion Hulk.
Well, how did that Hulk get there?
Oh wow, yeah. What is that guy doing there?
I don't know.
I've never seen that guy there.
That is an incredibly rare pattern. Okay, well, thankfully I had to say.
Has that ever happened before?
No, that's never happened before.
It's never happened before. It's never happened.
It's still here too. How did he get?
It must have moved really early. Like it just activated, like the random roaming activated really early.
I don't know. It's like sound propagation and roaming in this game is still a mystery to all of us.
Yeah, that's whereas Doom, we you know, Doom rules about when enemies aggro and roam are very well understood. We don't really know what's going on with Descent. Sometimes enemies just activate really early and just wander off, something like that. So yeah, I was saying the Fusion Hulks, arguably in contention for one of the most dangerous enemies in the game. They're big and dumb and don't move around much, but those fusion shots do about 60 damage if they happen to connect with your face. Ooh. So gotta be really careful with those. Gonna be doing another storage here. Oop.
Yeah, I need to make sure I use the right weapons on me because I ran out of concussions. Don't want to use the Mega Missile there.
Yeah, I want to save that for later. But yeah, last set of Death Warps, and you will notice that, you know, Zila was talking about that every life gets used. We have 1 life left. The counter does go down to 0, and we will be using it right here after grabbing the blue key to warp back to where we stored all that gear. Because yeah, you will notice that we're having to fly out pretty far to get to this blue key.
Come on, Red Hulk, get out of the way.
He's just bullying this guy.
Well, if you didn't want to be bullied, you should have moved out of the way. You know, it's all his fault. But yeah, this is the second to last level, and yeah, this level is all kind of centered around these like graded hallways with enemies on the other side. There's a lot of Fusion Hulks running around. Thankfully, there's a lot of power-ups too, so we have an invulnerability now. There's going to be an invulnerability, that secret that Zila just shot a flare at that we'll use for later. There's a cloaking device right here. So yeah, thankfully we were able to just kind of chain power-ups together to make this otherwise really dangerous level pretty easy. And I believe we'll be picking up a few Mega Missiles here. Mega Missiles, again, the most powerful secondary weapon in the game. Haven't seen them used a whole lot, but the final boss is very, very tanky. So we do want some of those for that as we approach the end of the game here. And in fact, we'll be maxing out on capacity. You can carry 5 of them at once, and Zeal just picked up 4 of them on top of the one that they already had. So, and yeah, you'll also notice that, the reactor bosses have also been getting pretty tanky. Earlier on, when you first get the fusion cannon, you can one-shot the reactors. Now it's going to take quite a bit more than that. But here's that invulnerability power-up in that secret door I mentioned earlier. And just start overcharging this fusion to try and deal as much damage to the reactor as possible. There we go. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. And the reactor goes down. And we're moving on to the final level of the game. Not only are we giving Pluto some love, we're also giving its tiny, tiny little moon some love. So this is Charon. Charon, yeah. Volatile Mine. And yeah, this is the final boss. The keys are all fairly quick to grab. They're all kind of concentrated in this one general area that you got to take a few different approaches to grab. And the final boss shoots Mega Missiles. Ooh, Fusion Hulk getting a shot off there, but thankfully we are invulnerable. Zeal going on the way to pick up that invulnerability power-up for these key runs. And yeah, a lot of Fusion Hulks by this key. And we're using some smart...
Ooh, that's bad.
Yeah, there we go. We just saw a Fusion hit.
I'm going to save because this is going to hurt if I get hit.
Yeah.
Okay. I should be okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, that Fusion Hulk kind of let its shot there too much and just hit the wall. So, yeah, thankfully no problems there. And we will be picking up another invulnerability before we approach this boss fight. Okay, no, just going to use the one that's in the arena.
Yeah, we'll use the one in the arena, but I have to be careful not to get popped by a missile here.
Yeah, the boss shoots Mega Missiles here, which obviously, as we talked about before, pretty much one-shot you if they hit you directly. So, gonna utilize this invulnerability here. And we do switch to the quad lasers because while the Fusion Cannon is really great for burst damage, the quad lasers are better for sustained damage.
Coming up when I exit.
Yep, I'm in just a couple seconds here.
Time.
GG's.
Oh boy.
That was intense.
That had some scares at the end. Pluto is never easy to deal with. And my hands are pretty shaky by the time I get to that point in the run. So let's say...
well done, though.
Thank you. Let's just say Crosshair is cool for our saying right
let's
there.
Go.
So a 43 IGT, but that also included just a couple loads, which that's still pretty good. Like I think a 4059 is my PB, and I want to try and get it down a little bit more again.
Nice. Well done. Did you have any shout outs that you wanted to give? Plug your socials. Tell people what you are up to these days.
Yes, thank you. So big shout outs to Spoody for being commentator for this because we kind of do this thing where we have pilot and co-pilot for each other. So thank you for being here for that. Big shout outs to Fozun, who holds the current record for this game and has for quite a long time. And Marvin for really pushing ILs for this game on insane difficulty because they're mesmerizing to watch, especially since he plays keyboard only. If you want to watch, if you want to watch more stuff I do of this or music games or whatnot, you can find me at twitch.tv/Delo, 3 L's and 3 O's. Spoody, you got anything you want to say?
Trans rights.
Yeah, trans rights, absolutely.
Heck yeah, trans rights.
But yeah, that's going to do it for me because unfortunately, I have to go to work right now. So Dane, I'm passing it back off to you for the rest of Crosshair.
Well, thank you very much, Zelo, and thank you for showing this off. I was so excited to have you finally on the show because I was not about to let you sneak away and not be on Crosshair at some point. So thank you for being here. Folks, we're going to chug right along into the next run coming up after the break. In the meantime, welcome back to Crosshair here on the GDQ Hotfix. Folks, we're going to chug right along in our current episode titled OK Boomer Shooters Volume 2 with a little run called NecroVision by a dear speed friend of mine, Gulch2. Gulch, how you doing, sir?
Excellent. I'm so excited to be here showing off some NecroVision.
Heck yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah, so this is NecroVision. It is a World War I FPS horror game. It's the premise is that it's an alternate history horror game. So definitely follows the true path of the story of World War One. It's very interesting. I also have Astrid and Smumbler here to help me with commentary. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hey, I'm Astrid the Horror Girl. I'm responsible for this somewhat. This game is wild.
And hi, I'm Schmumbler. I've officially run about half of this game before.
Nice.
Yeah, and they're both avid runners of NecroVision Lost Company, which you might have seen me run before. It is the prequel to this game, so if you're familiar with that, we get to carry on the story here in NecroVision 1. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, click on New Game, and the time's going to start once we get control of our character. I'll point that out as well. So I'm just going to skip 2 cutscenes here. It's going to start.
1916. Get up, soldier.
And go.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you. As we're getting into this, you want to explain the trick I'm using here, Ashton Smumbler?
Yep. This is what you'll see throughout this entire run, which is known as the rifle jump. Essentially, it is this neat little trick where if you are running and jumping and doing a melee trick on the correct frame, which we actually make sure that we're running at a slower frame rate just so that we can get this frame perfect trick at the right time, your character just launches into the air forward. And if you get it right, it really gives you a great speed boost and great trajectory going forward. If you're a little bit slow, it can just send you straight up. If you're a little bit slower than that, it'll send you backwards. And if you're too slow, you won't even move at all. It really is just a very, very difficult trick to master. But I think out of everyone here, I think it's safe to say that Gulch is the one who has mastered this art the most.
Yeah.
It is just so much fun to play around with and so addicting. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in what you're seeing here, to check out these games, even just from a casual perspective, because they're just so much fun.
Yeah, because you're definitely not going to be seeing most of the game here. Since we're able to just launch ourselves like this, there's a lot of terrain that we're going to be able to navigate, a lot of invisible walls that we're going to go past. But weirdly enough, there's also a lot of danger involved with that, especially in these early levels, because there's a lot of kill planes that are in the sky. So you have to know where you're launching so that you don't just wreck yourself. Mm-hmm. This little fort area is the biggest issue with that, because there's only a 10-foot gap that you can actually get in without hitting one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's right before we got into this area, there's a specific horizontal jump I have to do in order to miss a death plane. If I try to recorrect after a vertical or anything like that, I will just die. And I've tried to find different routes around this area because we kind of just take a roundabout way to get here, but there's so many death planes around everywhere in the out-of-bounds section, so lots of dodging those invisible barriers.
Also, in case you didn't know, the real villains of World War I were the wizards, obviously.
Well, we can dig into a little bit of the lore. I think it's important, that we take this moment to truly educate people about the true goings on of World War I. You see, right now, this is following this American soldier who has been captured by the Germans in World War I, who are taking them to, of course, everyone knows the Grand Master of Architect of the undead army that was plaguing the fields in Europe in World War I. This American soldier who is being sent to be experimented on, because of that, to be turned into a super soldier that is going to be possessed by a demon, because, of course, the vampires chose this one German soldier, Zimmerman. You'd know this. You read your textbooks in high school. And the vampires are trying to wage war underground against the demons, who have restricted the movement of the dragons considerably. And as Satan is trying to wage this war down there, they are attempting to recruit some humans who, of course, just happen to be doing their world war up there. But just just throwing that out there, just so everyone understands. And it's unclear what side the wizards are on in this war. I think that they're on the vampire side, but I cannot be too sure.
Astrid, I'm going to be honest. It seems like you're engaging in a little bit of revisionist history here. Yes. Going to call you Astrid, the revisionist girl.
Yes. So we kind of skipped over this now that we're out of bounds, but the whole running into a pole over and over again, trying to get through a tiny gap in the ceiling, that's probably one of the hardest skips that you can do in this game. Normally, we would just do a rifle jump to get up on top of the roofs, but in this level, there are no rifles, so we have to make do with what we have. Now that we're done with that, we're just climbing along the rooftops here to get to the end of the level, and once we get there, we'll have to find a way to clip back in bounds in order to actually trigger the ending.
Yeah, and that skip that we did was to skip a boss fight. You can see the boss health bar up at the top. Every single boss has that, and I think it's just so funny. Just boss and that
just says boss.
Bold, big old bold letterings.
Imagine you're playing Elden Ring and you go through a boss door and it just says boss.
It's also fascinating that the first time you ever have a boss fight in this game, it's not even a real singular boss enemy. It's multiple enemies that are just like, you just chip away at them, and each time you kill one of them, the health bar goes down. So the first time you have a boss fight, it's not even a boss fight.
It's a gank fight.
Nice.
And yeah, right at the end there, I just was jumping into that corner and spamming crouch in order to clip through that. It's really tricky. I really don't know what makes it work versus what doesn't. I just keep on doing it until it does. Immediately in this level, we're going to get out of bounds and start doing some more rifle jumps to carry ourselves through the map.
The nice thing about that out of bounds, though, is that you can literally just walk into it.
Just walk along the mountains and you're out.
These rifle jumps are so funny.
When I got to a point in this game, because I discovered these games and saw that there were people who speedran these a long time ago, and me and Schmumbler did some work on trying to figure out the tech that was used on these runs. And there were a couple people that did some runs that one might consider glitchless or no major glitches. And when we kind of got like the community together and everything, I was like, we should come up with some rules for no major glitches. And like, for one, like, how about like no out of bounds? And the original moderator of this leaderboard just wrote, "Good luck trying to define what out of bounds is in this game."
My main run is Doom 2016, and we had almost that exact conversation verbatim in that game too. So I feel that in my soul.
One thing I didn't mention about
made it to the ruins here.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. One thing I didn't mention about rifle jumps is that it's pretty dependent on what ground that you're standing on. So you can really only do them on flat surfaces or surfaces that are on an incline. Declined surfaces like hills and stuff make it impossible to do the rifle jumps. So I'm always looking for a specific ground that I know works for rifle jumps. So it may seem at times I'm just running into arbitrary places, but it's all for a purpose. And here's our first boss fight. You just kill this little ogre and then the ground collapses into the end level trigger.
October the 1st, 1916. I don't know how, but I escaped.
Hey, Astrid, I have a question for you.
What's up?
So, you said that we're an American soldier, right?
Uh-huh.
I thought we were following the British Army.
Ah, yes. You might think that because the start of this game, it tells you join the British Army and fight in the trenches of World War I. And then you press it and you see that you're an American soldier. The first level, technically, you realize that you're in a joint operation with the British, but they die immediately within the first 2 minutes of the game. Now, a fun fact about that is the same exact message appears in this game's prequel, NecroVision Lost Company. Join the British Army and fight in the trenches of World War I. But there is not one British soldier in that game, including yourself, a German soldier in that game. They literally just copy and pasted that message of start new game from NecroVision 1 and put it onto NecroVision Lost Company.
Yep, famous German soldier who joins an American soldier for 1 level.
Yes.
Okay, I have to say it because it popped into my head. I have to say it. Astrid the Lorer Girl. Boom, done.
Mic drop.
Oh, I hear a doggo.
This burden.
Taste
Yeah.
some justice, you bosh bastards.
So there's somewhere on this bridge, there's a trigger to load in this next area. It looks like we hit it. There's been so many times that I've gone through this area just running back and forth on the bridge trying to get it to spawn because I have no idea where it is. But yeah, I just try to copy exactly what I do each time, so there's just no mistakes to be made. But it can be pretty mean, and you can still access the area, but it's just completely pitch black. It just everything loads out, and you can technically still complete the level. If you look at, shout out real quick to Run Invalid. They're the main, it's a competition where a group of speedrunners face off against each other and route the game together and put together a segmented speedrun of a game that hasn't been run before. So that's kind of how NecroVision and NecroVision Lost Company were originally routed. And then we kind of took that as a community and made some optimizations and kind of put together the run that you're seeing today. But
Nice.
yeah, the Run Invalid folks are still going strong. They just actually had an event with 4 different teams routing and speedrunning a game called Sophia. There's a really cool video made about that as well, about the journey of all of that, and it's really interesting run.
I think this is also supposed to be the part of this game where you're supposed to be like really excited because you get this really cool mech, but it's really slow and it's really not that helpful. So unfortunately we have to ride it here to get to the end of the level and have it trigger, but we're going to be abandoning this thing every chance we get.
Spiders, living dead, walking tank.
And the next level will spawn right in this the same tank that we're in right now, but we'll be dropping out of it immediately because we can actually hit the boss transition without being in the mech. So unfortunately for the last one, we have to be in the mech, but for this one, for whatever reason, we don't. So we're just going to go back to our fastest strat of rifle jumping, just flying around the map. And coming up here, if you're familiar with the Lost Company NecroVision, the prequel to this game, we're actually going to be facing the main protagonist in that game right here in a couple phase boss fight. So starts off in a scorpion mech, which is so incredibly epic. This is one of my favorite fights in the game, and we're going to be doing it in our mech. We'll spawn back in even though we're on ground here on our foot, but now we're back in the mech. And we're pretty much just going to be unloading on the Scorpion mech. And it's essentially a 3-phase fight here. He's going to go to the middle of the arena once he gets to a certain health. And then these pylons are going to spawn. And I want to destroy those as soon as possible because once that pylon makes that little electrical connection with the Scorpion mech, it'll immediately start regenerating its health. So the faster I kill it, the less health it'll have. And the faster the fight will be. So that's 2 out of 3 done right there. And we're really not scared of any of his attack besides his flamethrower one. That one does a lot of damage. But here we're killing the last pylon. And now we can just kind of run up to the Scorpion mech and finish him off. Now this is only the first phase of this boss. We're going to be able to fight Zimmerman, who's the main antagonist of the protagonist of the last game in a gunfight. So
Plan was perfect. I am perfect. I cannot be defeated by some miserable human being.
He says as he gets defeated by a miserable human being. Ugh.
It's classic.
Ugh.
the voice acting in this game, the dialogue, it is just some top tier content. I love it so much. There's so many quotable lines of dialogue in this game. So to start off this fight, we're just gonna beeline it right to this light machine gun. I'm gonna take out our dual machine guns, and then Zimmerman. Okay, he starts off flying, and he'll come down and attack us. So now that he's close, we're just gonna unload on him, and I'm actually gonna stop shooting him here because if I try to kill him before I hit the ground below me, it'll actually crash the game. So you can go too fast here. And it's really hard to hit Zimmerman when he's flying up here, so I kind of want him to fly down to me. I'm not going to do... There we go. I'm not going to do as much damage if I try to shoot him while he's up there. But that's the boss fight there.
Nice.
So Zimmerman's defeated, and now we pick up the Vampire Glove. It'll give us some additional powers that'll get filled from a bar meter that we have that's on our health bar in the bottom left-hand corner. And it's like the yellow bar that surrounds the health bar, so you'll see that fill up from time to time.
The snow was mated.
I want to point out something that, like, there is so much more of this game to go, and that was Zimmerman. So you consider the choice that was made for the prequel to be like, you know that guy that we had the main protagonist defeat in like level 6 of the game? What if we just made him the protagonist of the next game that we do? I think that that's amazing.
It's also really funny then when you have people do the games in reverse order and play Lost Company before starting this one. Then they get to the Zimmerman fight and they're like, wow, I'm already at the final boss.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're not even halfway.
Yeah.
You again. And you brought along some stronger buddies this
Yeah,
time.
that was just the end of chapter 5, and we have, there's 12 chapters in total and a prologue chapter, which we already got through. So technically chapter 0 is what we started off with. So we just saw over there, you might have missed it, we just jumped past the wizard that we faced in the first level. We'll see him again though. Fortunately, we'll get a little showdown with him.
You know what?
But unfortunately, it is the most annoying boss fight in the game, in my opinion. So there's that.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that fight when it comes up. It is grueling. Whether you are doing it casually or in the speedrun, it's kind of a miserable experience.
So this vampire artifact spawned, which sometimes it doesn't. I think there's probably just a trigger that I miss occasionally. But that'll help us with boss fights because it'll let us get our fury meter up more. So I have to do a horizontal jump. Those horizontal jumps are frame perfect, where the vertical rifle jumps that I'm getting here just rely on you getting the correct button inputs. But getting the horizontal jumps, you have to hit your jump and melee button a frame after you start sprinting forward. And there's an orb to end the level. I don't know why, but yay, orbs.
Orb.
All right. I'm going to pick up this vampire shotgun. This is probably the second strongest weapon in the game, the strongest being the LMG, but we won't have the opportunity to get any more LMG ammo, so this will be our main damage dealer throughout the rest of the run. Going to clip over this.
I hope you enjoyed our friend the mech there for the brief moment that we got to see it.
Mm-hmm. There's actually an alternate route that if you watch the Run Invalid submissions, the showcase that they did, there's one team that used the mechs to clip through walls in this level. So that's pretty interesting. It's definitely slower than rifle jumping and going out of bounds this way. So we don't do it here, but it is pretty interesting to see the type of strats that the two different teams came up with and things like that.
Something to...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, this...
Just, I think that it's really incredible that, like, for NecroVision Lost Company, it was like, Run Invalid, of course, they found so many things, and then, like, I optimized some stuff, and then Schmumbler optimized some stuff, Gulch optimized some stuff, and we all worked together on And of course, Prisoner, of course, did so much in Lost Company as well. And we worked so hard to optimize that run for what it is. What you are seeing with NecroVision 1 is largely just Gulch. Just applying the logic of Lost Company and just being, surely that will work in NecroVision as well. And doing the research, looking at the run, routing it out, optimizing. Pretty much all of this is all Gulch for NecroVision 1.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the pathing even that he's taking is stuff that, like, this is a far cry from the route that we had even in the segmented run invalid competition videos.
Yeah, the time comparatively, the world record time for this game is probably at least, I think it's at like 6 minutes faster than the first place run invalid, which, you know, it is like using a combination of all the strats teams, so it's not the best comparison, but it is cool to see at the same time.
But by the way, here's that terrible boss fight.
I might want to reload here, actually. This, my health is way too low. You have a period of iframes, but if I do it too early and get my iframes too early, I risk having a very bad time with this boss fight. So I'm actually gonna play this safe and use the fireballs on these enemies and get rid of them as much as possible. The fastest strat is just to ignore them completely, but yeah, it's just very risky for a marathon setting. And one thing I didn't mention is on the way here, there's a lot of enemy spawn triggers that I miss. So if I was just running through, there could potentially be 2 or 3 times more amounts of enemies than we have right now. So it can get really scary.
Yeah, this fight is just miserable lots of times because the only way this fight ends is if the wizard that Gulch is trying to shoot dies, and it is extremely hard with, again, playing this casually, like triple the amount of enemies that you have seen. It's wild. It's such a miserable fight, but you honestly did really well there.
Thank you. Yeah, that went pretty well.
You know, the funny thing that just did not get touched on at all there, too, is that Vampire SMG in particular has a fun little quirk where if you mash the mouse button, you not only fire faster and do more damage, but sometimes the game just forgets that you run out and reloads the gun for you without sticking you in the long animation. So there were a few times there that you would see the ammo just reach 0 and then Gulch would keep shooting.
What?
So this section here, there's going to be a crusher that comes down, and normally you're not able to bypass that without turning it off. But we can actually abuse the iframes that we get in this game to get through it with these. So I'm just going to rifle jump over here and set up. This is like a new version of this trick that I just put into this route to make it a bit easier. And once we get down to 1 HP, we're going to run through. You hit the checkpoint, so I'm going to save. And I'm going to try to do a rifle jump, but it's really hard because we're slowed down, so the timing's not the same. And there's a bunch of enemies outside of that crusher, and I'm already used up my iframes getting through it. So we kind of just have to hope I land this rifle jump to get away from these enemies. Okay, we should be good. There we go. Very nice.
Really well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Also, yes, it did say defeat Skeletor.
I was going to say
It did say that.
So for the rest of this level, we're just going to be rifle jumping towards the end. Not a whole lot to cover, so it might be a good time for any announcements.
Oh, heck yeah, I got plenty. Folks, we haven't talked about it yet. GDQ's next all-women and femmes speedrunning event, Frost Fatales 2025, will be live starting this Sunday, March 9th, all the way through the 16th, and it is benefiting the National Women's Law Center. You can visit gamesdonequick.com/framefatales for more information on the event, or use FF and Twitch chat to check out the schedule. And if you look at that schedule, you'll see on Tuesday that there might be a little somebody running another horror game in that marathon. I think that runner's name is Astrid the Horror Girl, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
Never heard of her.
Never heard of her.
It's going to
Got
be
time for
very
more?
cool. You should check it out. Yeah. Go ahead.
Heck yeah. If you want to also support GDQ Hotfix, we do have a shirt that you can purchase over at theyeti.com/GDQ. The season 4 shirt. It's got all the logos from all the Hotfix shows for season 4. You got the Crosshair logo on there. You got the Speedruns from the Crypt logo on there, which is coming up after this. You got all our shows, Parallel Universe, Game Masters, Passion Project. All of them are on there. It's a really, really cool shirt. It's got a Coop, our little mascot. So head on over to theyeti.com/GDQ and you can get one for yourself, and it goes to support GDQ Hotfix, support shows like Crosshair and all the other shows we feature here on Hotfix.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So now we're on technically, you could say, I guess, a vehicle section. It's flying section. NecroVision Lost Company has a plane section very similar to this, where you're kind of just stuck in your vehicle the whole level. This time we're flying on a dragon. We can do some damage here with our flame. We'll be having, a boss fight later on with that as well. But we're just kind of be navigating through this cave, fighting a bunch of enemies. We'll skip a majority of this level. You're intended to do the whole level, or at least most of the level on the dragon, and destroy a bunch of pylons, but we'll be skipping it just shortly after this next section here.
Like that you call that a vehicle section.
Yeah.
Like I at one point tried to convince chat that fists are bullets to justify having a beat 'em up on Crosshair, but I guess if I'm going to make that argument, I can't argue with you calling a dragon a vehicle. So,
yeah, it's a way to get around.
Away with that.
It counts. So here we're gonna actually want to switch to this. Okay, we're gonna destroy these little pylons here. It's what creates this magical energy field that's keeping our dragon in place. And we got places to be, so we want to kill these pylons and get out of here. There's a slowdown here, so I can't really rifle jump. I'm just going to wait for it to be over.
Which is always risky because the slowdown happens when you get to basically 1 HP. It gives you a slowdown, and you get some iframes to be able to get out of it. And if you can't, then it's like, all right, well, we tried. We tried to save you from that.
And you get melted in seconds. This game can be pretty brutal with the enemies. This is on the easiest difficulty too, and you just get absolutely melted sometimes. It's pretty ridiculous. I can't.
Oh yeah, this game is extremely difficult, which is one of the many reasons that I tell people NecroVision Lost Company is not only just a more accessible speedrun, but it's also like, it feels like it's a game that you can actually win sometimes.
Yeah.
This one's mean, extremely mean.
Yeah, even from a
Lost Company
speedrunning.
has the benefit where, like, a lot of the times, even when you get low on health, your health will just start regenerating as you kill things. So it's not that bad. And you kind of get that here too, but their DPS is way higher than your regeneration.
And when we're doing rifle jumps, there's a bunch of enemies around and shooting at you. You can actually be pushed backwards in the opposite direction you're intending to go, so they can kind of keep you trapped, just forced to take their bullets. It's nice when works the inverse way, where they're pushing you towards the direction you want to go, because you actually get more speed and distance, but most of the time you're trying to jump past enemies, so they're shooting directly at you and making you,
You can try to stop
pushing
me,
you back a
but
little
you
bit.
gotta do better than that.
But here we're just flying towards the end section. We're going to have another situation where we dismount from the dragon. And we're actually going to be using a technique that we haven't really got to show off too much, because this game doesn't have as many spots to do it. But we'll be using the side of the mountain to climb up and over out of bounds. So right up here, just going to go walking on the side of this mountain. Just as simple as moving forward, looking up, get boosted up. And
Skyrim
we're trying to
flashbacks.
And once we get on top of this area here, there's going to be a spot for us to drop down out of bounds. And we're going to try to get ourselves over towards a cave where normally you're just supposed to fly your dragon into the end of level trigger, but we can just walk on the outside of this cave and hit it. It extends pretty far upwards, so I'm going to try to hit a rifle jump here to boost myself into it, and there we go.
Nice.
If you're wondering why Gulch still says rifle jump, the gauntlet is a rifle somehow.
Yes,
So
it's just locked into my vocabulary, the rifle jump.
yeah. No, it is for all of us, because when we were routing out NecroVision Lost Company, we assumed that you could only do it with a rifle because we tried and tried and tried with other weapons and we couldn't get it until one day we did and found that, it's just extremely difficult to get it with other weapons. But at that point, we were already calling it rifle jump, so it stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, the timing is a little different between different weapon classes, and also just the general leaping properties change based on the weapon. Like, technically, you can do a rifle jump with the handgun too, but it barely gives you any momentum, so it really doesn't matter.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna have to restart this here. So here I'm trying to get Azazel to keep on pushing me back. I think, let me try to just readjust here. Okay, we want him to keep on doing this attack because he's trying to push us away so that we're at a good distance where he can do his other attack. But here, we're just getting pushed back into the corner since we're sitting here, and we're kind of just holding M1 and praying that this works. There's a bunch of enemies around that are shooting me while I do this, and hopefully I just win the health battle here. Looks like I should be good. Yep.
Nice.
So that was the first phase of this boss fight with Azazel while he's on his little Cerberus dragon type enemy. He spares him here, I guess, puts him out of his misery, and now we get to fight him in his full winged glory.
So as you can see, this is basically a Souls game.
The real question, though, is if he fights better off the dragon, why was he riding it in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question. He seems to have more mobility with his own wings. What are we doing here?
This is like the opposite of Nameless King from Dark Souls 3.
So here we're just using our handy-dandy vampire shotgun, which I mentioned earlier is the second strongest weapon in the game. The LMGs do the most damage per second, but we don't get access to that ammo all that often. So I'm just going to be using the jump pad to kind of avoid some enemy hits while I focus on shooting him as much as possible.
Defeat taste? I can't be stopped, you hear me? No demon, no monster, no enemy has the strength. Who's going to be the next to die?
Only one demon remains to oppose us. The Devil King, the Lord of the Flies. Mephisto.
I read that book in high school.
Excuse me, but isn't the Lord of the Flies Beelzebub?
Well, if you had paid attention in that history class when we learned all about this in World War I history.
About all the vampires and werewolves in
Yeah.
World War I.
Exactly.
All right, this is the second last level of the game. Here, we are, we're meant to just go around and walk up a bunch of pathways, fight a bunch of enemies in order to get to the top of this area here, but we're going to be doing some climbing on the side of the mountain in order to circumvent all of that fighting. Just trying to get a rifle jump to get
Honestly,
over here, but
these bits were always my favorite parts of Lost Company, because the inclines on cliffs like this, they can literally just slingshot you at times.
Mm-hmm. And we'll hopefully be able to get to see that, because I just routed in this new trick right here. Instead of rifle jumping up, I'm going to use this corner of collision here. And if I can hit it just right, it should take us flying to the moon.
Whee!
Incredible.
And all the way up there.
Wow.
Good find.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, that saves a good chunk of time, for sure.
And end level trigger is right on this path right here. And we are going into the last level of the game where we face off against the Devil King Mephisto. Can't say his name.
The actual worst fight in the game.
Yeah.
He's a big one, ain't he?
So we get back into a mech similar to what we saw in the Zimmerman fight and the Scorpion mech fight. This one's a little different. We don't get the lob grenades like we did in that fight. Here we get a power up where we just kind of shoot these like white orbs, and we get that filled up when any enemy dies. I don't even necessarily have to kill them. They can just run into the boss and I'll get some charges or run into me. So that's that alternate fire you just saw there. And I'll just be shooting that at any as much as I can whenever I get the power up. This is the only phase in the boss fight where I'll be shooting in the mech. It's actually really slow to use the mech, but I just simply don't have enough ammo to fight the last boss on foot.
Gotcha.
So we'll be doing that for the last two phases of the boss fight, but here we'll just be spraying and praying, dodging his fireballs, attack from time to time. And we're going to be transported to another section of the arena where here I'll get out and equip my handy dandy vampire shotgun. Now, similar to the power up with the mech, with the alternate fire, and whenever enemies die or run into me, I'll get my power up for my vampire glove, which will throw those fireballs. They do a lot of damage. So just comboing that with the shotgun just really melts this boss down. And once we get this boss down to a certain health, we'll transition to the third and final area of this boss fight where we'll just be rinsing, repeating, and doing the same thing. Now might be a good time for shout-outs. Astrid and Schwumbler, if you have anything you want to mention.
Yeah,
I
big
guess.
shout out to Gulch for routing this game out and for Astrid for putting the community together.
Yeah, Astrid put in a lot of work to put this community together. So yeah, huge shout out to Astrid.
I just want people to run these ridiculous games, all right? I guess my only shout out after all that, which thanks y'all. Frost Fatales next week. Y'all be sure to tune in. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh, we have a little bit of slowdown here. I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm just gonna save and wait for my health to regenerate a bit before I start fighting him again.
Yes, we're in the era of auto refill health.
Yep.
When every shooter had that.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's okay.
So close.
I saved that before, so maybe we'll use our shotgun instead. Don't have any. Very mean.
Oof.
All right, let's try something else. Let's run away from these manta rays. Play very scared for a second here. Say it again. This should be fine.
Manta rays were the scourge of World War I.
And that's time.
GG. Well done.
Thank you.
What a final cutscene.
Yeah, it's so epic. I love it.
What?
I have no idea what's going on, but yeah, and thank you, Astrid and Schwumber, for both being here. I appreciate it. It's always so much fun getting to show off NecroVision with you both. It wouldn't be a NecroVision one without you. So thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for running it.
Of course.
Yeah, any plugs you want to give? Tell people where they can find you, what you're doing, what you're up to, what you're learning to run, what you're planning to learn to run. Hit us with it.
Yeah, you can follow me at twitch.tv/Gulch2. I mainly these days do NecroVision and Bioshock are my main things. Bioshock is probably what I'll be running in the near future. So Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2, Bioshock Infinite, play all of those games. So yeah, if you like the Bioshock games or if you like NecroVision, feel free to check me out.
Come on, I'll help you get back to your side and
Very
you can buy
nice.
me a beer
Cool.
to toast the peace.
And BioShock is one of those games where I've been looking at the whole franchise like, oh man, we could totally get BioShock out on Crosshair and just do like a BioShock episode. We'll have to figure out how that's all going to work, because those are not long runs, but putting them all together, it's starting to squeak a little too close to that 3-hour mark. So we'll have to do that. So we might have you back on in a future episode of Crosshair just to have BioShock on, because that's a great run too.
I would love to.
Heck yeah. And Schmumbler and Astrid, did you want to plug yourselves as well?
I play horror games and speedrun horror games over at twitch.tv/AskForTheHorrorGirl, if anyone's ever interested in that.
I sometimes stream at Schmumbler. Not very often, though.
You stream enough. I catch your stream sometimes, but alrighty. Well, thank you all for showing this off. I was so happy that I saw NecroVision in the list, and I was like, yes, I gotta get this on for an episode for another Boomer Shooter episode, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So thank you for showing it off. It was super cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us.
You betcha. Folks, we are going to take another quick break, but while we are doing that, if you would like to keep up with Hotfix and what's going on between shows, you can join the official GDQ Discord and add the Hotfix role. You can do this while we're on break, and that'll help you keep track of upcoming events. You can talk with staff members like myself and other Hotfix showrunners, and more. You can use ! Welcome back to Crosshair here on the GDQ Hotfix. Before we wrap up tonight's episode titled OK Boomer Shooters Volume 2, I want to let you all know that you can go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix in a different tab, not in this one. Click on a different tab to do this. We can go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix to check out this season's schedule, check out what runs we have coming up this week, and tell us what you're excited to see down there in that Twitch chat. Additionally, if you you heard us talk about Frost Fatales earlier, which is starting this weekend. Additionally, at the end of March, on March 29th and 30th, we will be having an International Transgender Day of Visibility celebration here at twitch.tv/gamesdonequick. You can use !transvisibility in Twitch chat for more info about that. Lots of really good runs are going to be featured on that for over those 2 days, so definitely check that out. In the meantime, we've got one more run here on Crosshair for this evening, and that is another Boomer Shooter, which isn't surprising. Tonight's episode is called OK Boomer Shooters Volume 2. You have to say it like that or it doesn't count. That's why I'm saying it like that. And we've got a speed friend of mine who actually submitted to the forum over at gamesdonequick.com/hotfix. And just a fun little fact, all the runs over here, like in the run of show, all 3 of these runs were submitted to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix. So I'm just saying, I say it at the top of every show. If you have a run you think qualifies, go on over to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix and fill out the run submission form. You too could also end up on an episode of the GDQ Hotfix. In the meantime, let's send it on over to Rip Chip with Rise of the Triad.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's your boy Rip Chip back at it again. Today we are, as he said, playing Rise of the Triad. To get into more details, this is Rise of the Triad Dark War, which is the full campaign that was released for the game in 1995, and we're going to be playing it through Ludicrous Edition, which is the remaster that was done by Night Dive, and it is, in my opinion, one of their best remasters they've done to date. This is a really wild run. If you've never seen this run, it's going to look really bizarre at points, but it's super cool, super fast-paced, and I've got a wonderful co-commentator to help guide you guys through the game with me. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, TBCR here. I speed run way too many FPS games, and I've stared at the source code for this game way too much. Please help me.
Yes, and TB, shoutouts to him because he has done a lot of contribution to rerouting this game and making it be to the point where it is today. So big thanks to him for that.
Sick run.
It is a very sick run. So let's go ahead and get into it. There's a couple things to explain before we jump in. Like I said, we're playing the Dark War campaign. There's 4 main campaigns in Ludicrous Edition. There's 5 playable characters. I'm playing as Lorelei Nee. She is the fastest character in the game. and there are a bunch of difficulties. And funny enough, if you choose a different difficulty different times, you're going to notice they all have different names each time you select it, and they're all very corny 90s FPS difficulty names. I love it. We're not playing this difficulty down here because it's way too hard. We're going to play on the easiest difficulty because even on this difficulty, the game's brutal. So, in any case, we're going to jump right into this. So we'll get started. As we go through the first episode of the game, we're going to spend some time explaining the mechanics because there's quite a bit to talk about in that regard. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Alrighty. So, Rise of the Triad. So this game's very different for a lot compared to some of the other games that came out around the same year or even beforehand. There's 2 types of weapons you get in this game. There are bullet weapons, which have infinite ammo, and then there's rocket weapons, which you can only hold one at a time. So the game has an almost arcade-like feel to it in that regard. And it's also very difficult. There's a ton of enemies, and most of them are hit scanners, which is incredibly fun if you are familiar with how that is in boomer shooters. You gotta deal with a lot of them. And on top of that, there's also power-ups. We just picked up Mercury mode, which is our power-up that lets us fly. And we're going to be using it to get over a lot of the obstacles on this level, just clear it faster. We're also going to pick up the MP40, which is our automatic bullet weapon, and this is going to basically be the workhorse weapon of the game, just because it helps clear weak enemies and also just stuns enemies that could be potentially dangerous. Yeah, and it's another thing to mention about it is the enemies. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of RNG attached to them, just in the nature of how they attack, but also there's certain levels that are going to have random enemy spawns, which, if that's the case, in those designated areas, the enemies can spawn any of the enemies that are already on the map, or it can spawn nothing at all. So ideally, you don't want to have to deal with an enemy, but it could also be just some other enemy that already exists. And there is going to be different enemies introduced in different parts of the game. In episode 1, they're all pretty basic. The main problem enemy in episode 1 is these enemies in the black uniforms. Those are over-patrols. And TB, you want to explain why over-patrols are such a problem?
They shoot nets. And they're a nuisance when they shoot nets. There used to be a thing in the DOS version of this game, because this game came out originally, Shareware came out in 1994? Came out the same day as Marathon. That's how I usually remember. And the knives that you can pick up in the game, when you pick up one, it actually persists until you exit the game. Not when you start a new game, when you exit the game back to the DOS prompt.
Yeah, so...
And Night Dive fixed that behavior.
Yeah, so technically it is a bug fix, but it was a very convenient thing when running the DOS version. But there's so many other nice little features to Ludicrous Edition that I can kind of overlook that. Plus, I'm just a legendary gamer. I don't have to worry about it too much. But this level is what I would consider probably one of the first major skill checks in episode 1, because there's a lot of things that can happen here. There's a lot of really dangerous hallways, and being aware of what can spawn in any of those hallways is super important, especially with the number of potential over patrols you can deal with. Now, those enemies with the machine guns, those are high guards. They're also kind of a problem because they have automatic weapons, but luckily, for the most part, in episode 1, we don't have to worry about them too much. Most areas that they're potentially dangerous and we have workarounds with, or we can just take them out. But you might be wondering why I'm all of a sudden a dog. I probably should have said that a little sooner, but another power-up is the second one we're going to get is dog mode, which, like real dogs, makes it so that you can bark, you can bite your enemies, and you're also invincible to fire and bullets and all sorts of damage. Very useful power-up. We're going to use it a lot. There's some more specific tech with dog mode that we'll use later on. This level's pretty interesting. So we're going to do a small little sort of skip here. It's more of a convenience thing than anything, but I messed it up. It's fine.
I should also note that Night Dive, or whoever worked on this specific map for this version, actually added that jump pad right there. It's not in the DOS version.
But yeah, just jumping around like that allows us to skip going in and taking a second jump pad to hit a switch to get to that key. It's just a very convenient little platforming trick we can do. One thing about Rot is that there are a lot of bugs and glitches in this game, but not a whole lot that are speedrun usable. This game is really awesome, but the best way I can describe it is that it's held together by band-aids and hope, but Yeah, it's a great game, but it's a pretty relatively glitchless run. There's some sequence breaks and stuff, but it's all going to be basically based around pre-existing things inside of the game itself. And if you're wondering why it's so like flat and maze-like, it's because this game was originally supposed to be a sequel to Wolfenstein 3D, and then eventually Apogee got the rights to it, and so they're using a very heavily modified version of the Wolf 3D engine to make this happen. So it's very technically impressive given the fact that it's running on such a minimalistic engine, but it comes with a caveat of some things just working in really weird ways or just some things outright not working properly. But either way, it's a very unique looking game for sure.
Also explains the choice of enemies that you're fighting.
Yes. Also, I didn't mention it, but whenever I go into an elevator, you're gonna see me quick save. TV, explain why I'm doing that.
Oh boy, you're going to love this. So every time you go into an elevator, let's do it in the context of the DOS version. So in the DOS version, if you have the music off or you're in God mode, you will not experience what we like to call the elevator music roulette, where you have a 1 in 10 chance of having elevator music happen every single time you hit an elevator switch. And that's not like it progressively increments. No, it's a 1 in 10 chance spin each time. So sometimes you'll be unlucky, quick save, quick load, and get elevator music every single time you attempt to do the elevator.
Yeah, it's just entirely luck of the draw kind of thing. So this level is also kind of another one of the harder levels in episode 1, just because getting through this level, especially the beginning, just really kind of comes down to knowing how to deal with what types of enemies you get. Like, I got a ton of high guards. For safety's sake, I ended up taking out a bunch of them. Mainly all of them, just so I didn't die, because you're going to be going through a lot of hallways with them, and you don't want to take too much damage, because obviously you don't want to die. That's going to set you back. But this weapon here is the Firewall. It's one of the coolest weapons in the game, and we're only going to use it twice, but believe me, its use in this run is so cool, especially towards the end when we use it the second time. But we've been going through this pretty quickly. There's been a little bit of messy movement, but we're about to fight the first boss of the game. And so I've been running this game on and off. Okay, so this is the net, by the way.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, this is how long it takes if you get caught by the net. But yeah, this is Darien.
Sometimes you'll look out and the net will just instantly like disappear, just gone.
But that's not a reliable thing. It's only really kind of a luck thing. But this is Darien. The way he works is you have to hit these 4 switches to lure him out. If we do this correctly, we can shoot him with a fully loaded bazooka, and he will die right now. And that's one of the earliest bits of speed tech that I came up with back in the day. It's very consistent to just bottleneck him into that door and shoot him to death. So now we're going on to episode 2. Episode 2 introduces 2 new enemies to the pool. One of them is the Strike Patrol, which are very much pushovers on easy difficulty, but then there's another enemy that's substantially worse. TV, talk about this for me.
Oh boy, the Enforcer. They have a machine gun, not an MP40, a machine gun. They constantly fire at you, and they throw grenades. It's the only enemy that I think that does hit scan and projectile in one package.
Yeah.
Also, they're a bullet sponge.
Yes, they're tanky, and the biggest danger about them is the grenades, because especially when you're playing as Lorelei, one grenade could potentially put you in lethal territory, or it could just kill you outright. So you have to be very careful about them, especially in areas where they can randomly spawn. So going on to this map, this is a really cool map. The way this one works is you're supposed to collect 3 keys to get to the exit, and what order you do it in is totally up to you. So the other thing about it is that they want you to collect the keys and then take elevators back to the main central room, but it's faster for all of these keys just to literally go back the way you came. Which also brings up a point, the elevators that we go in are not true elevators, because as I said, this is a modified Wolf 3D engine, so everything is still pretty flat. There's not actual upper floors or anything like that. Basically the way they work is they're basically just teleports.
Yeah, that's more obvious when you do Extreme Rise of the Triad, which I'm the only person that actually speedruns that one.
Yeah.
For good reason. It's
Extreme
really
Rot's a wild experience. But yeah, we got all 3 of our keys. We're going to make our way over here. There's a bunch of pits on the floor. It's a hazard we haven't really had to deal with, and really we're not going to have to deal with them too much. But we have Mercury mode, which prevents you from getting caught in them entirely. Oh, here's the elevator music, by the way. We're gonna step through this just for the heck of it.
I will note, Ripchip mentioned that you could do this level in however way you want to do it. Actually, both of us have different ways of doing this specific level. I go in a counterclockwise motion for the map, and Ripchip does, as you saw right here. Oh, hi, Mark.
Alrighty, so we're going on to the room. This is a very cool level conceptually. Instead of having enemies, it's all about solving puzzles and doing some like dodging of these hazards and stuff. But we're going to skip a good chunk of the early level by doing rocket jumps, which this is our first chance we've actually been able to use them. Rise of the Triad is a game from 1995 and has rocket jumping, and it is very iffy at times, but it allows us to skip certain areas and get over obstacles pretty nicely. Here, it's pretty substantial because of just some of the more nuanced puzzles you have to solve, and it also skips getting a key. Now we're going into spiraling in, which is like the scariest 15 seconds of episode 2, potentially. This is one of those levels where if you get bad enemy spawns, this level can get really bad really quickly. Luckily, we had really good enemy spawns there. The worst thing that can happen is getting Triad Enforcers, but we didn't have any of them. And this also has a pretty big sequence break right here. By doing a rocket jump over this, you can get straight to the last hallway of the level.
This is so cool.
Yeah, that's the thing about this game. It's really a lot of what makes it so fun. Oh my god, there's a Triad Enforcer.
Oh, and they were right in the archway as well.
Yes. That's going on to what I was going to say, actually. So, like, the big fun of this is just, it's very simple movement, but it's all about, like, adapting on the fly, acting fast, doing just really stuff that's coded into the game to go as fast and efficiently as possible. And, like, a big factor for getting a good time in this game, or just getting better at it, is understanding, like, what to do in different enemy scenarios. Like I said, I've done several hundred attempts of this game, and I'm sure I've still not seen enemy patterns I'm used to, but like just getting familiar with them and then coding it into the back of your mind, like how to deal with certain things. Like, for example, the Triad Enforcer in that last level, like it can be very easy to be like, oh, I can just try to run past it, and then you just can't because he's standing in the way and he's tanky. So, you know, my initial response was, all right, I'm going to use a rocket. And I've been talking a lot because there's a lot to talk about, because this level is very big. This is Rocky Plateau, by the way. This is probably one of the most ambitious levels in the game in terms of like what they do with the actual, you know, limitations and abilities in the map making for Rot. TB is a big fan of this level himself.
Well, Marathon 2 is one of my favorite speed games, and that's a very non-linear-ish type of, you know, map design. So when I see a map like this, my neuron and my brains activate, because it's a good, like, designed map.
Yeah. But now we're going on to the actual coolest level in episode 2, which is Four-Way Chamber. This level, I say, is really cool, but it used to be one of my least favorite levels in the run, because in the early days, the route for this was incredibly scary. There was a lot of really dangerous enemies that you had to worry about. There still are, but not to the extent as it used to be. Like, let's hope that that's not a Triad Enforcer. It's not, we're good to go. Alrighty.
Yeah, like the first quarter of this map is probably the most tense. Once you get past, well, once you're about to do the rocket jump that Ripchip's about to do, the map basically gets easier. Oh, that's unfortunate.
This is like three nets. That's okay, it's funny. Anyways, like you said, we're about to do a rocket jump, which this was a strat that was come up by TB, so big props to this, because this made this level so much more bearable, because the old route used to be so hard.
The innovation known as looking at the map. We figured out that you could just jump this part. Now,
you can believe
that's
that.
Actually a hard thing, because I had to like go use a Linux machine or with DOSBox, and I had to like convert the image files that came with the Rot Goodies thing that Apogee had on the 3D Realm site. You had to convert that over to like TIFF, and then I had to convert it over to PNG just so we could actually look at the maps. There is like this like isometric like overview map thing that's online, but that wasn't really helpful.
No, yeah, so I know exactly what ones you're talking about.
Yeah, so like with how I converted the maps, which you can get those on SRC board for the DOS version.
Two Triad Enforcers in that hallway. Oh my god.
Yeah, it shows you the TED output. for what the maps look like.
All right, so we're coming on to the boss level of episode 2. This one's very different from the previous one because unlike the previous one, you basically have a full level you have to clear in order to get to the boss. This is another one where there is always a potential for really bad enemy spawns to happen that you have to be very aware of. But this is also going to introduce a very interesting little power-up that exists in Rot that we're going to abuse to get this level a little bit faster. So we're going to go off the beaten path a little bit here. This seems a little out of the way, but it does make this level substantially more bearable, I guess you could say. It is possible to beat it without what I'm about to do, but this is a random power-up that we just got God mode first try. So the way the random power-ups work is that it's on basically a cycle that's going very fast, and so it's supposed to simulate the idea that, oh, you're going to get a chance-based power-up, but it's not chance-based, it's just a constantly going cycle that you can't really... You can sort of mitigate, but like your first grab of it's going to always pretty much be a 1 in 4 chance of being what you need. But this gives us God mode, which makes us invincible and throw these balls that kill most enemies in one hit. And I say most enemies because there are exceptions, but we'll get to that here soon. As you can see, we're just smiting everything. But in terms of killing enemies in one hit, I mentioned that most of them could be killed in one hit, and there are exceptions, and bosses are not one of them. So we just killed the second boss in one hit. So not only does this make this level super easy, but it also allows you to kill the boss very quickly. And it's funny because that strat was something I learned from watching a Let's Play from Psychedelic Eyeball way back in like the early days of YouTube. So we're going on to this level. TV, explain everything that's about to happen here because I gotta focus.
All right, Robotrix is pain. So Ripchip was lucky right there. Sometimes you can get up to 3 enforcers in the specific hallway. Not fun, very painful. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a shortcut, which once again through the wonders of looking at the map we were able to figure out. Normally we would play this level like how it's intended, but you can take a little shortcut here. Let's see if he can get the robot. Okay, good. And we skip halfway through what I like to call the hallway of incredible length. You'll see why I say that in a bit. But we're going to pick up 2 keys, and there are 2 cycles that we're trying to beat. One really only starts when you open a door, but the other one has been going while I've been talking and while Ripchip's been running, where we're trying to get past the column, more or less.
Yep, here comes the hallway.
Without it being too far down the hallway or too far towards us when we head into the room. So let's see how Ripchip does this jump. Very nice. I don't know how to do rocket jumps properly in this version, so I have to do it a different way.
All right, and that giant moving wall right there, we managed to get it before it got to this hallway, which means we basically got the fastest cycle in this level.
Now, fun fact with those columns, you can't actually phase through them, and I actually do that in my speedruns. Now, it is a little bit dangerous. You can die from that, but the second to last set of columns in that level is a lot easier to phase through than the big column that we're trying to get past.
Yeah, and speaking of dying really quick, there's God mode right at the beginning of this map, which is going to make it so we can get through this level very, very risk-free. It's just about movement at this point. And a fun fact about God mode is that when you go into an elevator with God mode, you don't have to worry about the elevator RNG.
Thank goodness.
It's like one of the hidden details about God mode that's not explicitly stated. And we're going to do something cool here. Boom.
Oh, I've not been able to do that in a while.
So there's a really tricky shot I just did. Basically what we do is we throw a God ball right as we open the door and run past it. And ideally what's going to happen is we're going to hit an enemy, grab a key, destroy the table, and destroy the enemy behind it all in one swift motion. It's very iffy, but it's so satisfying. All right, so here's dead in 5 seconds. If you're not careful, you can die in 2, but we didn't, so we're good. We're good. This level's pretty neat. Okay, we got that RNG here. So you can get...
Got a very nice Bobby Prince track to it.
Yes. So for all you true hardcore boomer shooter fans out there, you can tell that this game's going to have a good soundtrack because it has the likes of Bobby Prince and Lee Jackson. 2 of the most...
It's got drum corps music in it.
Yeah, 2 of the best old school FPS composers out there. You know, Bobby Prince is mainly known for Doom, but Lee Jackson also did a lot of work for some of the music for the Build Engine games. And now we're going on to my favorite level in the game, which is Clear and Present Danger. The route for this level is so cool. So the first thing we have to do is get a key here. And we have to dodge a lot of moving lava, which is just a common theme in this. Normally I do something crazy and try to do this as fast as possible, but I am going to play safe for, you know, convenience sake. I don't want to throw away the run on my own pride. But if you move fast enough, you can get the key and then run past those giant walls of magma without touching them. But if you're too slow, you will absolutely get caught by it and die. But we're not going to...
very, very tight cycle.
Very tight cycle, but it's another one that's really cool if you can manage to get it. Alrighty, and once again, being the best boy right here, the doggo.
So while you're in dog mode, are you able to pause the game?
Yeah. Oh my god, I hate you.
It took him a second.
Yeah.
I will say, dog mode introduces platforming to the game.
Yes, I was actually about to explain that. So this section right here, you're normally supposed to move all these pillars with switches, but you can jump over them. There's a technique that I like to call puppy jumping, where if you combine using the use key... Oh, I gotta be careful here.
I didn't know you had a name for that.
Yeah, I call it puppy jumping. So it combines, whenever you do an attack, you jump a little bit. Whenever you use the use key with dog mode, you jump a little bit. And you can stack those to do a double jump. And what's convenient about that is you can jump over most obstacles and enemies using that technique. So it allows us to get around, it allows us to get around enemies, but also allows us to get areas, you know, that normally wouldn't be easily accessible. But this is Angry Quilt. This level is not too bad. This is going to be one of those levels where we have a random power-up, and the ideal thing here is there's not really like one specific power-up that works better over the other. You can do this with either God mode or dog mode. We don't want Shrooms mode. We don't want Shrooms mode. We don't want Shrooms mode. There we go.
Have you considered Shrooms mode?
So there's also power downs. We don't want to see those. Those are in the cycle of the random power-ups. Shrooms mode makes it so everything is super colorful and your head wobbles around, and makes the game basically unplayable.
Oh my god.
And there's also bounce mode, which basically makes your body turn into a rubber ball, which bounces you around, and it is really hard to control. But we got dog mode. You can technically beat this level using similar techniques with dog mode or God mode. And we're going to use the puppy jump here to get over those spinning blades to skip a maze. And get our next key here.
Now, I will note that I actually forego using the power-up at all because where you pick up the first key, there's actually a bulletproof armor that you can pick up, and I've been personally using the bulletproof armor for this level.
Yeah, well, I'm not using it right now, but anyways.
Yeah, I want to point out there is an alternate strat for that, because again, like, even though we both run this, we do have different ways of doing the routes for the game.
Yeah,
there's
and that's
like one specific route.
One of the coolest things about this is that realistically, you can approach a lot of these levels however works best for you. There's not like one absolutely correct way to do something, and it's pretty neat. It adds a lot of like variability to the game. All right, so this is what I would say is probably one of the hardest levels in the game. This level has a lot of potential for danger. There is a lot of areas...
Especially the last third.
Yeah, the last third of the level is the worst, but the reason I say this is because there's a lot of obstacles to dodge. There's a lot of dangerous enemies that already are there. There's a lot of potentially dangerous enemies that can spawn. And this is probably the level I'm going to quick save the most frequently in because there's just so many hallways where the risk of dying is super high. We're going to restock our bazooka. Oh my god. Oh, that was close. Ooh, okay.
I had a fight or flight response, and I'm not even speed running it right now.
Okay, so yeah, that's this hallway full of robots. Another dangerous area. I'm going for this. I'm going to do this with 1 health. Anyway.
Good luck.
So I'm going to be saving a lot, like I said, and basically pretty much any major hallway in the level I'm going to save because there's just so much potential for death to happen.
Did they give me the rocket launcher from you?
It's okay. I mean, I got a heat seeker right here, so...
Yeah, that's understandable. I wasn't sure or not.
I couldn't tell, but like I said, like at this point in the level, it's not a big deal. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we never actually mentioned that. Yeah, the lightning guards can take your armor and your rocket launchers.
Sorry for the jump reactions here, but like this area is so scary.
This ending is really intense.
All right, we made it. Okay.
And then we followed up with enemy.
Yes,
Yay!
this is so. There's been a lot of fun, challenging areas, but this is by far one of the most infamous parts of the game, is this boss fight right here, which is enemy. And you can ask anyone who is a veteran boomer shooter fan, this is going to be one of their hardest boss fights. And this also used to be the biggest roadblock to the run, being, you know, somewhat consistent. So TB, explain this fight while I try to do it efficiently.
Okay, Rip Chip just walked in front of the window. Enemy takes a snapshot of where he was, moves forward. When he's close enough, he attacks. So the idea is you want to maneuver enemy in a way that you control where they go, right?
Yes.
So you know where their path is. Sometimes that doesn't work, but generally you can control where exactly they move, and that way you can get straight line shots with the bazooka.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, trying to hit enemy can be really difficult because he moves very, very quickly. And he also is very tanky. There's a lot of health.
I actually killed enemy today in my PB run, because I did PB in this today.
Nice.
I did circle strafing.
All right, so I'm playing a little bit cautiously because this fight's not going very well. But that's fine. It's
this
enemy.
fight's kind of gone south a little bit.
All right, there we go.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah, if you don't get like the perfect setup right off the bat, it can be a little bit difficult. Sometimes you can work around it with no major issues. That just was not a good fight. But like
sometimes
this used to be a lot worse. I need to emphasize that used to be a lot worse.
Yeah, that fight used to take like at most 2 minutes sometimes, and now we've gotten it to where it takes about 30 seconds on a good day.
Right. So this is episode 4. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I love the fact that you used to call him enemy, and I was like, oh, he's like, because he's the enemy, and then I realized his name is literally NME, which is so good.
It's a great name, but
I think it also has the nickname of like Spray as well, in like the code.
But anyways, this is episode 4. So episode's 4 gimmick is that it introduces 2 new enemy types, which are monks, and there's the death monks, which do damage when they stand next to you, and then there's fire monks, which shoot a projectile attack at you, and that is very scary. Both of them are pretty scary, mainly because the death monks will block your path, but the fire monks do a lot of damage. So this is another use of dog mode right here, and this one is actually intentional. They actually want you to use dog mode to get the first key.
This is also a good example of a level where you can route this a little bit differently as well. So like, yeah, Rip Chip's going for the intentional thing. There's a random power-up on this floor that you can also do. It mainly goes with, do you want to deal with like doing 3 trips of an elevator intentional, or take the chance on the random power-up, which can take a bit.
Yeah, and like it is realistically, if you get a good power-up drop, it is faster by about 7 seconds, but I just would rather go for more consistency because there's so many things in episode 4 that are not 100% consistent that I would, whatever I can have control over, I'm going to take. Also, you can stand on enemies' heads to do damage, which is something I have not explained. There's a lot of things I haven't explained. There's just so much that goes on in this game. It's awesome.
I outright call that Goomba Stomp. And you can, I was going to mention on Spring Surprise in episode 1, you could actually at the beginning like rely on an enemy landing on your head to hit the ground faster. It's a wacky strat, but it's pretty funny as well.
So we just did a double rocket jump here to get a key substantially faster than we're supposed to. Very convenient that it kind of lines up that we can do it both ways because there is a giant health crystal that allows us to heal up pretty effectively right after we do it. This section here is a bit of a sequence break because you're supposed to hit switches to move all those pillars, but you just have to move the one at the end.
You had good luck with the placement of enemies there too.
Yeah. So this
Sometimes
enemy...
over patrol and death monk.
Yeah, that's terrifying when that happens. So this level is pretty cool. It's one of the levels that I used to have a lot of trouble with, but again, just over time, you know, and gameplay improvements have just made this a lot more manageable. There's just a lot of dangerous things. But the nice thing is that you get an asbestos armor, which I haven't explained and I'm almost at the end of the game. There's armor types. Asbestos armor protects you from explosive and fire damage. It doesn't fully protect you from explosive damage, but it does reduce the damage so that it's safer. And having asbestos armor makes this level substantially easier. Because we no longer have to...
fire pits with it.
Yes. We don't have to worry about the threat of enemies killing us, for the most part. Now here comes another instance where we have a, what I like to call a coin flip random power-up, where you can do this with either God mode or dog mode. I'm gonna save here. Oh, nice. Dog mode right off the bat.
Nice.
So, ideally, like, you can do it with both. I prefer dog mode for this one just because it makes the overall movement a little bit easier. You can jump over a lot of things that can slow you down. But we're gonna be using this here to get to the keys that we need to get to the next part of the level. This is a little bit messy.
I will say, this level, if you do pick up the God mode, you get to do the very seldomly used God mode jump.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten a chance to show that off, which is a shame.
Yeah, you can use the God mode, like, energy orb to, like...
Oh my god, twice in a row.
Jump with it.
3 times!
3 times.
Oh my god. That's never happened before.
He said nothing!
Alrighty, so ideally we want to get to this point with dog mode so that we can jump over this pillar to get to this switch, which is going to allow us to get to the end. It's very tight timing. Same thing with God mode too.
Also, you saw that little open area? Don't walk through the open area. You will get stuck. There's no way to get out. Don't do that.
Alright, so we're on backfire because we have... The last level had a random power-up. We're going to use another one that just happens to be in a secret area at the beginning. Ideally, we want God mode. Not that.
Can I say that this level absolutely slaps?
I love this level. And again, it's funny.
I said Rocky Plateau was like one of my favorite levels. No, this is my favorite level.
I think in terms of like the more like, you know, traditional Wolfenstein style levels, this is the coolest one. But we just got God mode, and I'm glad this is another example of looking at the maps and figuring stuff out, because this level used to be kind of awful without God mode, mainly because these hallways, you'd run out of ammo and have to use the machine gun to kill the death monks, and they're very tanky. So it was a bit slow, but yeah, this level's super cool.
And also the MP40 deals less damage, even though it's a higher rate of fire.
You'll also be happy to know that someone in chat said monk e-business.
Monk e-business, hell yeah. Anyways, so we're gonna switch our gears here from God mode to dog mode to finish out the level. We do have to be a little careful doing this, but you know, okay, I'm gonna stand back just a little bit here.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I forgot about dog mode being there because I actually just finished the level up with God mode usually.
Yeah, I mean, if you go through it fast enough, you can do it, but I usually just do it on instinct.
I will say, I was my first actual full run of this in like a while that I had today. I got stuck on one of those like crushers near the end of that.
Yeah, that's something that can definitely happen. All right, so this is another really interesting level. The other ones have been kind of a lot going on, a lot of maze-like stuff. This is a very basic layout for a level, but it's pretty cool because it's basically just kind of like a build-up level, like to the end game. And we're gonna do a
usually call this like
very particular movement here. There we go, nice first try.
Good.
So why we're doing that is because it gives us access to an area that has an asbestos armor, which makes getting to this level far more tolerable, and it also gives us full health. So the thing about that one is you basically only have one shot to get it, and if you misalign your movement, you will die because the firewall will absolutely obliterate your health. But we got it.
Why is the game writing an essay across your screen?
I know, yeah, there's an entire green text story going on when you're going in that room because there's so many touch plates that you hit. But anyways, this is the lair of El Oscuro. This is another boss-ish level. It's not like a true boss level compared to like how Christ was, but you have a full level to get to before you have your first encounter with the main villain of the game, El Oscuro. So this one, first thing we have to do is get a key to not that locked door right there, because that would be too easy. We're gonna take the elevator back to unlock a door to get the key that goes there. It's a lot of back and forth. But this is a level that can be very scary if you're not careful, especially because of this upcoming hallway right here. If you don't know what to expect here, you can die very quickly. And even if you do know what to expect here, you can still die really quickly like I am, because I fell.
I saw that. I was like, oh no.
You know, I'm just showing by example. What can I say?
Exactly.
All right, so we're gonna grab this health for safety, run our way back. But yeah, that's just how it is. Like, this game is very, very crushing if you're not careful. Like, you can die very quickly to a number of things. Even if you play on like some of the tankier enemies, like things like the firewalls just melt your health bar so quickly. I say all these things about the difficulty, but I want to make it very clear. Rise of the Triad is a very fun game. If you can get past some of the like weird antics of it, it's a very arcade-like and very fast-paced game.
I would say it's probably one of my favorite arcade-like shooters.
For sure. All right, so now we're going on to El Oscuro.
Yeah.
So explain this, because this one requires some explanation.
Okay, so the source code for this is a little bit of a pain to read sometimes, but let's generally kind of summarize. So the way to beat El Oscuro is to not do a thing. Basically, you want El Oscuro to basically tire themselves out. There's a set amount of health that they have. Every time they deal an attack, a certain amount of health is lowered down. Ripchip's relying on the multiple rocket barrage and the green electric thing. There's other things like the vampiric lunge that you saw a little bit of a bit ago. There's also like an attack where they shoot ahead. Those two in particular deal the most quote-unquote damage to El Oscuro, but they also take a while to wind up sometimes. Or in terms of the vampiric thing, it takes a while for it to even cool down.
Yeah, and you can sometimes just easily lose track of where El Oscuro is when he's doing that, because he just goes flying. But yeah,
also, I know what you're thinking. Why doesn't Ripchip just stand on that column over there near the exit? Well, if you do that, well, you're not going to be able to leave because it keeps the column in place. Also, there's a fun bug in Ludicrous Edition. So if Ripchip was to pick up another asbestos armor, it would fill up, right? But it would still keep the countdown for the first asbestos armor. And that will lead to funny things later if that ever arises.
Yeah, so you have to be very situationally aware of your armor at all times. So this is Canyon Chase. So El Oscuro got tired of trying to attack us, and he's trying to flee. We're just going to run alongside him. That is, by the way, a caterpillar of El Oscuro's head. Shoutouts to, I think it was Tom Hall, who was the person who donned the costume for El Oscuro in this game.
Yeah, El Oscuro is Tom Hall.
Wow.
But, yeah, so the thing with the previous boss is that if you're casually playing the game and you don't know that that's how it works, you could spend an eternity on that level because you just won't die. And it can be very...
reflect your attacks back at you.
Exactly. So now we're going to the actual final boss fight with El Oscuro. This also has some weird conditioning to it. TB, explain what we have to do.
We have to destroy some eggs here. They got little El Oscuros there, look at that.
Yes, and they have one of the most unreliable hitboxes.
Oh, their hitbox is like a fence post, more or less. And I don't mean like those nice, beefy, thick fence posts that you sometimes see. No, we're talking like a little toothpick.
Yeah, this isn't like, some nice hardwood. This is the stuff you order on Temu. But anyways.
But yeah, generally, you want to destroy all these eggs. It would be very, very mean if the developers decided to have a gotcha in this level where, you may not realize there's eggs in a certain location and you would have to replay the level over after you defeated the boss. That would be absolutely mean, wouldn't it, Ripchip?
Yeah, why the heck would they do that? That's stupid.
Oh, that's interesting. You picked up a Mercury mode. Why is that for?
Oh, well, funny you ask. So, there's this really cool area over here that I kind of want to explore real quick. Oh, a movable wall. Interesting.
A movable wall.
And oh my god, what is going on here?
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Yeah, so this is one of the most, cryptic things. Oh my god, I don't have any armor.
I would say it's cryptic and sadistic, and both at the same time.
Okay, so I died there because I forgot that my armor ran out. That was cute. Yeah, let's run it back. Oh, wow, what's this doing here? Oh, man, why are there so many Oscuro eggs?
That's terrible.
Why would they do that? Anyway, so yeah, we have to take out all these eggs, and we're also going to grab the Excalibur, which is a really cool weapon that doesn't get much use because it's kind of gimmicky. But watch what this does. Throws a wave of explosive baseballs. Yeah, you know, it's a cool weapon, but it's not very practical in most of the levels. But it's going to get some very good mileage in this boss fight right here coming up.
Double check real quick.
I'm going to recheck, don't worry.
Okay.
Just wait, I got a cool strat I want to show off.
Very paranoid about this level for obvious reasons. I should point out, in Extreme Rise of the Triad, it's even more sadistic because they hide one egg in a very obscure spot that you wouldn't realize.
Right,
but it's in like, that spot is in plain sight.
All right, I gotta be a little careful here because I didn't get as much damage as I wanted.
So yeah, you can only destroy El Oscuro on the pads. That's why they turn red. When you're on the flame pads, that's the only way you can deal damage. Otherwise, they're invulnerable.
All right, so let's just double check. We got all of the eggs. That's good. But yeah, so the boss is dead. It's gonna be like a 30-second death animation. I use this time to go back here and double check to make sure I didn't miss any eggs so that I actually get the true ending. But time is coming up really quickly, and I will say
as soon as you see the tombstone.
GG.
All right, so that was a little bit of a messy run, but I got to show off some of the oddities of the game. But now we have to, the most pivotal point in the entire run is making sure that we got the true ending. That's a lot of explosions, but
because yeah, if Ripchip didn't destroy the eggs, guess where we get to go back? That's right, the level we just finished.
Yes, and we did get it, so that's cool. And it sucks because there's no visible tracker for the eggs. You have to literally look and say, okay, they're all dead. But while I was doing that, I didn't get to explain. El Oscuro's final boss form is really interesting because you use the Excalibur and the multitude of explosive baseballs at close range to do as much damage as humanly possible. Now, I've never been able to do it on Ludicrous Edition, but if you get very lucky in the DOS version and have the perfect angle, you can actually kill El Oscuro in one hit. But on average, it'll take about 3.
Yeah, I don't think I've personally had a one-hit kill on DOS.
It has only ever happened for me once. But anyways, that was Rise of the Triad. I talked a lot. There's a lot to this game, but let me tell you, this game is awesome. This is an amazing remaster from Night Dive. If you're ever interested in just playing a very unique FPS game, I cannot recommend this game enough. I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I love it. It's been a passion project and a hatred project in some capacities of mine for a very long time, and I'm happy I got to show it off. The run was a little messy, but you know what? It's okay. We had fun, and that is what matters at the end of the day. This is a celebration of all things fun, explosive, and somewhat janky. So thank you, Dangerous, for hosting this particular episode of Crosshairs. Let me give a couple quick shout-outs. Shout-outs, first off, I said it earlier, but again, shout-outs to TVCR, because his contributions to the route were game-changing and made this run so much more consistent. Shout-outs to, again, the Night Dive devs who did this port. It's a very, very good port of this game. Shout-outs to Lee Jackson and Bobby Prince for the amazing soundtrack of this game. And yeah, shout-outs to all you folks out there watching, all the folks at GDQ running the show. And also a reminder to everybody, in case this hasn't come across your mind at all today, trans lives matter.
That's right.
Anyways, thanks again. I hope you guys enjoy what is going to come up throughout the rest of the week and, onward and stuff with the Hotfix. Great program. I love that I got to do this. And yeah, if you're interested in this game or other retro FPS games, I mainly run old PC games. But you can follow me at ripchip_ on Twitch and follow TVCR as well. He also does a lot of really cool games and a lot of weird ones. So
yeah, I play a lot of old man games, as I call them.
Yeah, that's my favorite term for this genre. By the way, if anyone can tell me what time did I get for the run?
RTA, you're looking at a 40-10.
Okay. I was shooting for a sub 40, but I mean, I had some bad luck, and
close.
I had to show off some funny stuff, so I'm happy with that.
I think your record's what,
36:51.
Oh wow.
6:51.
Yeah. And that run is incredibly sick. I want to beat it, but the thing is, It's a run that has a godlike episode 1 through 3, and I choked on episode 4, so I have a lot to go against if I ever want to get a new PB. But I'm working on it in the future. But anyways,
you'll pull it off.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. But anyways, thanks again. Anything else you want to say? Dangerous, TBCR?
Oh, heck yeah. We are going to be speeding off into the next show here on Hotfix. You know, as I always say, all good things must come to an end, and so too it must be that Crosshair ends this evening. But fear not, folks, because the GDQ Hotfix, which is also a good thing, is not over yet, because coming up next, we've got speedruns from the crypt, so stick around for some spooky speedruns. We'll be back in 3 weeks with another episode of Crosshair. I know normally it's 2 weeks, but next time is actually going to be 3 weeks, because we've got Frost Fatales coming up again, starting on Sunday, this coming Sunday the 9th, running through the 16th. So we're going to be pushing all Hotfix shows back by a week. So we'll be back in 3 weeks with more pew-pew shooty episode of Crosshair. And as I always say, folks, no matter what your dreams, goals, or hopes are in this world, always keep them in your cross.